Good morning. How's it going? It is election day 3, Thursday. I will break down what we are looking at right now. Getting really close to an actual result, believe it or not. But we have to wait. We have to wait. Let me show you what this looks like right now. So here we go. Right now, we are waiting on Arizona, Nevada, Georgia, North Carolina, Pennsylvania. Right now, in Arizona, you actually have Donald Trump with the remaining ballots. You actually have him catching up to Joe Biden, though Biden still leads there. In Georgia, you have Joe Biden catching up to Donald Trump, and it's possible we'll get a result from here soon. It is really close now, about 18,000 votes separating the two in Georgia, and the remaining ballots coming from heavily Democratic areas, and also because they're mail-in ballots largely favoring Joe Biden. So I would look at this to flip. I would expect Georgia to flip. We're going to see. North Carolina, there's a little less information on what's going on here, but Donald Trump sitting in a more comfortable spot in North Carolina. Pennsylvania, also very likely to flip to Joe Biden. The mail-in balloting coming in right now for Joe Biden. Again, heavy Democratic areas like Philadelphia, where Joe Biden is getting about 80% of the vote that's remaining. And there's a lot of vote left because of those larger counties. Likely to flip to Joe Biden, but you got to wait. And Nevada, I believe they said to expect a result by 12 Eastern time, so by noon. Gonna have to see. And in the corner, I have the TV on in case there's any calls made. And this right here, auto updates. So the map will change if Joe Biden overtakes Trump at any point. There's a lot going on. Unfortunately, it's taking way too long to get the result in. Donald Trump right now attempting to challenge the counting in a number of states, trying to stop the count. He tweeted this out so I can zoom into it. Stop the count. He has no authority, of course, to do this. They're attempting legal challenges, but they have no actual legal basis for the challenge. So there is no court order trying to stop the counts. So the counts are still going on, nothing stopping. But he's going to try to continue to discredit these mail-in ballots, even though they were sent in before Election Day. It just took forever to count them, which, by the way, in Pennsylvania, if Pennsylvania had counted votes like they did in Florida, for example, where they counted the mail-in ballots immediately, then we wouldn't have to be waiting right now for the result. And in fact, what would be happening is Joe Biden would have had a big lead in Pennsylvania from the start, and Donald Trump would be cutting into his lead. But instead, it's flipped. So you had Donald Trump with the big lead on election night, with Joe Biden cutting into the lead because now you're counting the mail-in ballots. So this is, understand, we're just waiting for the counts here. And there's nothing nefarious going on. You have Biden catching up in Pennsylvania, Georgia, Pennsylvania and Georgia, and Donald Trump catching up in Arizona. So both candidates here are benefiting. But let me show you what happens if, or depending on who wins what state. So let's say Donald Trump catches up in Arizona. Arizona goes red. Nevada seems pretty safe. Actually, let's give Trump North Carolina too. All right, so now we're looking at, in this scenario, we're looking at 253 to 243. Let's say Biden gets Nevada, which is very likely. Now he's at 259. So then it comes down to Georgia and Pennsylvania. If Biden gets either, he wins. So he doesn't need both. Trump, on the other hand, does need both. He needs Pennsylvania and he needs Georgia to be able to win. Joe Biden, he could just get Georgia or just get Pennsylvania and he's good. So this is being super conservative here. This is being super fair to Trump, as I'm giving him Arizona, which is not a guarantee. Arizona could still stay with Joe Biden. So again, not clear. Not clear exactly how the math's going to play out, but very, very, very likely that Joe Biden wins. It's just a matter of time for all these votes, all these outstanding ballots to be counted. I'll also grab some chats. I'm hearing some come in. I'll grab some of those in a minute here. Let me also just show you where the Senate currently sits. So it's likely going to come down to a couple of runoff races in Georgia. So Georgia right now, you have Purdue at 50, but if Purdue goes below 50, as he currently is, as these votes continue to come in Georgia, and a lot of them, again, backing Biden, so naturally a lot of them also backing Jon Ossoff over Purdue. So if Purdue comes below 50%, there's going to be a runoff there in Georgia between Purdue and Ossoff. Same thing in the other race there, where Loeffler, I always forget his surname, but Loeffler there and Warnock, there's going to be a runoff there for sure. As you see, neither were even close to 50%. You got 33 to 26. So there'll be runoff there. So these are two potential runoff races in Georgia that could decide who controls the Senate. And then you're also looking at Arizona, where Mark Kelly, I think, is expected to win here. He's up by a good margin. But again, if a lot of those Arizona ballots coming in favor Donald Trump, it could flip this potentially. But I would say my prediction would be that Mark Kelly is safe here, but we're going to find out. And yesterday you had Susan Collins keep her seat in Maine. An unbelievable, absurd loss for Democrats there. Look how 50 to 43, disastrous, completely ridiculous. And we're also waiting on North Carolina, where Tom Tillis is right now holding on 49 to 47. and seems likely to win, but again, gotta wait. It may just come down to Georgia here in these two races. Oh man, a lot happening. Let me bring up the how the votes look. So you got CNN just recently put this up. So you have in Nevada, Joe Biden up by 7,600 votes. Georgia, Trump up by about 18,500 votes. Arizona, Biden up by 68,300 votes. And remember, the vote coming in right now favors Donald Trump by about 59%. He needs about 60% of the vote to favor him for Trump to be able to overtake Biden with the remaining votes. So it's going to be very close there. It could come down to a few thousand votes to dividing this race. North Carolina, Trump sitting at 76,000 there. And Pennsylvania, 135. Even though this appears to be a massive number, which it is compared to the others, with the amount of vote that's left in Pennsylvania and how heavily it favors towards Joe Biden, Pennsylvania is actually right now heavily favored to go in Joe Biden's direction, even though this looks like a massive gap. But we're talking about, Philadelphia, and actually even in red counties with the vote coming in, because it is mail-in balloting, those red counties actually still favor Joe Biden with the mail-in ballots. So very likely Biden will overtake Trump in Pennsylvania. Just have to wait to see where that all goes. All right, let me grab some chats. I will keep this up, or I'll keep this one up. I know this one for sure, auto updates. You can see the timestamp there. Updates every minute. So keep an eye on that. It'll refresh. Keep an eye on Georgia, North Carolina, Pennsylvania, Arizona, Nevada. And by the way, I should also mention before going on, the Associated Press called Arizona on election night for Joe Biden, while other places have not called this. So CNN, MSNBC have not called Arizona for Joe Biden. In fact, I think Fox News as well also called Arizona. They may have been going off the Associated Press call, but it was too early. They shouldn't have called it. It's still very possible that Trump can overtake Biden in Arizona. So while the AP has called it for Biden, I would not look at that. Stick with Decision Desk and others that are still leaving it as a toss-up right now. But of course, keeping an eye on that. I would still say Biden is favored to win Arizona because Trump really has to have those remaining ballots favor him. And the reason why they're leaning towards Trump, as opposed to, states in Georgia and Pennsylvania that are leaning towards Biden, is because these apparently were same-day drop-offs. So it is not favoring Trump in as wide of a margin as the ballots remaining in Pennsylvania are favoring Joe Biden, but they're still favoring Donald Trump. And I guess there was a last-minute push from Republicans to get in your ballot at the last minute. So favoring Donald Trump there. All right, man. Got to continue to keep an eye on this. I'll be live for maybe, I don't know, hour and a half. I'll bring up some other stories that I saw over the last couple days. But let me grab some chats first before moving on to something else, which is not wanting to load everything. Okay, let me bring up another page. All right, some chats here. Law Gnome says, teach us your ways of patience, Jedi Master Dole. I may look patient on screen. Inside, I am going crazy. The fact that I still have to cover this election 3 days in, I am bothered by this. I was up last night waiting to see if I should go live in case the race was called. Went to bed early, took a gamble. Luckily, that paid off. So woke up, nothing had really changed. But I feel like I'm not all that patient inside. Bernie Johan says, if Georgia does flip, that could energize the turnout for the 3 Senate runoff elections. Yes. Good point. Also, there's been some reporting. Greg Palast. Let me bring that up. Greg Palast has been reporting. He's an investigative reporter, discussing how a lot of people in Georgia, especially younger voters and voters of color, were purged from the voter rolls back in 2019. That may have led to this race being as close as it is. Let's bring that up quickly here. He posted this on September 2nd. ACLU of Georgia just released a report by the Palast Investigative Fund titled Georgia Voter Roll Purge Errors that concludes the state has likely incorrectly removed nearly 200,000 Georgia citizens from the voter rolls in 2019. So very likely this is why you're if this was not the case, and again, this leans heavily purging younger voters, purging voters of color. If these voters were still on the rolls, Biden may have already won Georgia. But even with this, he may still pull out a victory in Georgia as these counts come in. Just glancing here at CNN to see if they were announcing anything. All right. I Shoot You says, everyone take a shot when someone asks to refresh the map. The map refreshes itself. I will not refresh the map. You see timestamps here, 10:21 a.m. And you'll see it change when it refreshes again. So no refreshing needed. These auto refresh. Don't worry. Ken Clive says, I hope Americans learn just how hard it is to overthrow fascism and a badly designed election process. Apathy is not an option. DVDV says, when you can barely beat a president who was part of the worst depression since 1929, you know you have a bad candidate. I miss Bernie so damn much. You are 100% correct. The fact that this race was close at all is gross. It shows you the total incompetence of the Biden campaign and of the Democratic Party. And maybe the perfect time to bring up this clip that I want to share. Let me find it right here. And don't worry, I will keep an eye on the map on a different screen, or I'll have a different screen showing what's happening as I show you this clip. But I wanted to share this. Listen to this insanity.
Schumer might...
This is Lawrence O'Donnell on MSNBC.
But it is probably going to...
Let me turn up the volume here. All right. One last glance before I go to the clip. Nothing happening? Okay.
But it is probably going to tighten a little bit. Chuck Schumer might very well pick up a couple of seats. And, when you look at the Senate side of it, for example, one way you'd have to, the only angle you could use to be critical of a Democratic leader in the Senate is to say that the candidates he recruited or the candidates he wanted to support were bad candidates. That's not the case. This was a very good crop of candidates. It is not easy to find a viable Democratic Senate candidate in Kentucky to run against the majority leader of the Senate. They found a candidate to carry that banner.
Okay. I may do a full video on this later. This is so stupid. I'm going to keep the map up just so we're all aware of what's happening. But that is so dumb. This is... Recognize how the media always covers these races. If a corporate-friendly candidate loses, if somebody who is ultra-conservative as a Democrat loses, they'll never blame the candidate. They'll never blame the choice of the candidate. They'll always say, well, it was a perfect candidate. It just so happens, they couldn't defeat the Republican, but nothing at all wrong with the Democratic candidate being pro-corporate, being ultra-conservative. That's the way to go for Democrats. But if a progressive, if an anti-corporate candidate loses, they'll blame the candidate. They'll blame the ideology. Say, oh, they're too far left. That's why they lost. This is the exact same talking points, the same rhetoric you hear every damn time. And he does the... Lawrence goes... Let me continue here.
Didn't get all the way, but that's not surprising. No majority leader of the Senate has ever been defeated in their reelection campaigns back in their home states. And so you'd have to look at these candidates and say, why was Chuck Schumer so excited about, X, Y, or Z on this list? And it's all a very solid list. The House is a somewhat different story, and Nancy Pelosi actually made some comments a couple of years ago indicating that this might be, when there was a move against her leadership, especially by some younger members, didn't get very far. But in the public discussion of that, Nancy Pelosi gave some hints that maybe around now might be the time when she would announce she was going to move on from the speakership. I don't think that will happen. I don't think Democrats will now want that to happen, because I do think Democrats in the House do believe that Nancy Pelosi did a masterful job of running the Democratic House of Representatives, which is what the real job is. And yes, election day, when they lose seats, it's always an issue. But some of the most powerful speakers in the history of the House of Representatives lost seats at different periods during their term.
A bunch of candidates, a bunch of centrist candidates in the suburbs lose the race in the House, lose their Democratic seats, and not Nancy Pelosi's fault. Perfectly fine. Nothing wrong with the strategy. Doesn't analyze that at all. Doesn't discuss that at all. Hey, some House leaders, they lose seats. What's the big deal? But if those were left-wing candidates, if they were anti-corporate candidates, people standing up for the workers, standing up for labor, standing up for unions, the media would be discussing how that is the wrong strategy. You got to put up ultra-conservative candidates that actually represent nothing, that have barely any difference between the Republican candidate. That's what Democrats got to put up. It is the same bullshit every time. And you have to be able to catch that. And also, tell people, educate people in your lives that, a lot of them are stuck in this MSNBC, CNN hole where they really have no idea what is going on. They watch networks like that. They think they understand the process. They think they understand, oh, of course, yes, Democrats must be more conservative to win. Yet this is the strategy they keep implementing, and they keep losing. Look at Joe Biden as a candidate, an incredibly corporate-friendly candidate. Look how close this race is. We're on day 3. He couldn't beat a fascist. He couldn't beat Trump after the disaster that is COVID-19. The complete destruction of the economy, people living paycheck to paycheck, 30 to 40 million people potentially being evicted. People, millions and millions losing their health care because it was tied to their employer and they lost their job. Biden couldn't defeat that. This race should not have been close. Yet here we are waiting on, a few states that are moving by a few percentage points to hopefully have Joe Biden overtake Donald Trump. Like, it is completely absurd that we have to keep waiting for this shit. Joe Biden increasing here. He was at 2,413,000. Now he's at 2,414,000. So Biden continues to increase his lead. Apparently Nevada may have a result soon. So Biden's been up by about 7,500 votes in Nevada since yesterday. They're going to be updating that shortly, apparently. So waiting on that. For anybody joining late, let me give you a quick overview on what is happening. I'll get to the chats, super chats that have popped up. But right now, this race comes down to Nevada, Arizona, Georgia, North Carolina, and Pennsylvania. In Nevada, Joe Biden is expected to win there, but as I said, the vote's going to come in. We're going to find out. though he is expected to win here. We will see. Arizona, Biden leading, except the votes that are coming in now favor Donald Trump. So these are late, same-day drop-offs of votes. There was apparently a last-minute push for Republican votes in that state. So they're favoring Trump right now at about 59%. Trump needs the votes to favor him at about 60% with the votes that are left in order to overtake Joe Biden. So this may come down to several thousand votes in Arizona in terms of who decides that election. Georgia, Donald Trump leading, but all the votes coming in heavily favor Joe Biden. We're talking about more populated areas around Atlanta here. So these votes coming in, you see how much it favors him. Look, 83, 72% there, 72 there, 84% in Clayton County, 83% favoring Joe Biden. So these are the votes that are still coming in. It's really close. This also may come down to the wire. Here you go. About 87 to 95% in. Joe Biden favored with 84%. So a lot of that vote still coming in heavily favoring Joe Biden. And North Carolina, there hasn't been much discussion about North Carolina. A lot of the votes here that have yet to be counted are early votes. So I would assume they're going to favor Joe Biden. But considering the gap right here, at over 50,000 votes dividing the two, I'm not sure if it's going to be enough, but we'll wait on that. Pennsylvania, right now, Trump leading, but again, the counties coming in right now heavily favor Joe Biden. So we're looking at states like this or counties like this, 58% favoring Joe Biden, and even in the red counties that are coming in, those votes are also favoring Joe Biden because these are mail-in ballots that are being counted right now. So very likely, especially Philadelphia around here, it's cut off, but 79.9% favoring Joe Biden. So we're still waiting on these votes, about 80% in. So a lot, with still 20% left to count, and Biden being favored by about 80%, very likely Biden will flip Pennsylvania, and it'll go to him. But we gotta wait. Continue looking back at this map, by the way. Still hasn't changed. This map auto updates, so you don't have to worry about refreshing it. It tells you, this is the timestamp right here. It'll tell you when it was last updated. So as I'm reading through chats, don't worry about the refreshing the page as it refreshes itself. All right. Oh, I should also show you just the breakdown. Just to go over this again. So Biden needs, let's say Arizona goes to Trump, which is possible. Biden needs Nevada, which is likely for him. Let's say North Carolina goes to Trump. Biden only needs either Georgia or Pennsylvania at this point. He doesn't need both. Trump needs both to win, which is why we're looking at a map right now that heavily favors Joe Biden. Because even with Trump winning Arizona, he still needs both Georgia and Pennsylvania and North Carolina. So it's a lot. It's a lot for him to get at this point, especially with this late ballot coming in favoring Joe Biden so heavily. Just double checking Nevada here. These should be coming in really soon. So right now, Biden up by about 7,500 votes. 588 to 580. Just keep an eye on that. All right, more chats here. Literal Ills says, as someone in Arizona could still flip for... Hold up. Possible fire alarm. Fire alarm. Test. All right. At some point, sorry, I had to go on mute there. At some point, there's going to be a fire alarm drill. So that's happening. I will leave the map up. I may leave my seat for a moment to see if I can stop the sound in my apartment. But apart from that, back to the map. So, where was I? I was reading chats, wasn't I? All right. Literal ills. As someone in Arizona, Arizona could still flip for Trump. Maricopa County has a lot of Trumpers. However, McSally will lose for sure. Even Republicans hate her. Yes, I was discussing this earlier. So, while Trump can definitely flip Arizona with the votes that are left in Maricopa County, you do have Kelly there, very likely winning that race against McSally. Just double checking Nevada here. Nope, still waiting. All right. Mike Carano says, will we get results from Nevada anytime soon? Yes, shortly. Shortly. So Georgia, 61,000 ballots to be counted. Trump leads by 18,000. And with the ballots left, heavily favoring Joe Biden. I'll be right back. All right. Unbelievable. They do this every month, by the way. Every month. Got to have a fire drill, just in case. All right. Anyways. Back to the chats. Mike Carano, I said your chat. All right. Mama Bear says, Benny would have won by now and would have helped down ballot races. Could have taken the state. Yes, agree completely. I'm going to have to find a time to do maybe a proper video breaking down just the horrible strategy that Joe Biden had. But it's a lot of the stuff. I mean, it'll be regurgitating exactly what I discussed during the primary. You have to give people a reason to vote. You have to. And it's, look, I would love to say it's incompetence on the part of the Democratic Party. It's not incompetence. The party is designed to ensure that regardless of the results, that they are benefiting their donor class, that they are benefiting their consultants. So it's always going to be this very corporate-friendly approach to politics. This is why the Overton window is so far to the right. You have two parties representing these corporate interests. In the Democratic Party, the way leadership is, the way the party's been operating for about 20, 30 years now, is that they have always been favoring the corporate approach while completely ignoring labor, ignoring unions, ignoring the working class. And you have a result like this, where Joe Biden is just barely going to defeat the worst president in modern history. DVDV says, once again, Dems will learn nothing or the wrong lessons from this utter disaster. Already talking about challenging Pelosi from the right. Jeffries. Not Jim. Jim Jeffries is a comedian, isn't he? Hakeem Jeffries. Yeah, I read an article about that yesterday. Right now you have Pelosi. It's just incredible. You have Pelosi's caucus thinking that she's too far to the left, and they want to replace her with somebody younger who is just as, if not more conservative as Nancy Pelosi is, in Hakeem Jeffries. If I can pull that up. I would definitely take Jim Jeffries over Hakeem Jeffries any day of the week. In fact, I believe a Justice Democrat challenged Hakeem Jeffries a couple of years ago, if I'm not mistaken. I'll have to look back into that. But that is the discussion right now. Of course, Jeffries is saying publicly that, oh, no, I don't want that job. What are you talking? No, Pelosi's great. She's fine. This is the usual way they always play these games. But I think it's likely that we're going to see Pelosi step away from leadership and back Jeffries. Here you go. Just one last check on Nevada, see if this has changed. No, it has not. Check Georgia. I'm not sure if it's changed, but it's still really close. Pennsylvania. Okay. Here you go. Democrats mull replacing Nancy Pelosi with Hakeem Jeffries as House Speaker. So this is there a video on this? No. But this is the next discussion. Once we finally have a result, hopefully, in this election, in terms of the presidency, the discussion that we will then be focusing on is, well, who's going to be in Biden's cabinet, and also who's going to control the House. And also Chuck Schumer, like, Jesus Christ. Oh my God. All right, we have gotten over the alarm bullshit. Now I can focus on this. Again, if you're coming in late, I'll give you a proper overview again of what's happening in this race right now and what Biden needs, what Trump needs, and all that. Let me just get through some more chats. I also have some more stories that I want to bring up in a minute here. Nursherific says, unrelated, but have you read The Story of Stuff? No, I have not. Adam Bryceland says, MAGA crowd in Wisconsin count the vote. MAGA crowd in Michigan stop the vote. Biden, get your story straight, Jack. These people are seriously mental. Yeah, I don't even care about what Donald Trump's doing right now, because it's not having any impact on the count. Everyone's still counting. Of course, he's going to try, to pretend this is all rigged. We discussed this. We all predicted this was going to happen. So tune him out. Tune those people out. As long as the vote count continues, I really couldn't give a shit what Trump is trying to do right now. But of course, yes, there's no consistency at all. He's not discussing Arizona. Doesn't want to stop the count in Arizona because he could potentially overtake Biden there. But got to stop the count everywhere else where he's leading currently. Yeah. Squirrel Lips sends an emoji squirrel and an emoji lips. Well, thank you so much. Ken Donsky says medical weed industry is corrupt by big money. Shroom industry will be the same. It takes millions for license to grow. No union, exploits workers, etc. It depends on the state, is my understanding. There's definitely some of that for sure right now in Canada. A lot of bureaucracy around how that's controlled, but that also depends on the province. So I hear you, though. It is something we have to be a little more aware of, because simply decriminalizing or legalizing these plants is not enough. It's how it's legalized that matters. Will people be able to, unionize, as you mentioned? Can small businesses form around creating a business around this, or is it just, massive industries that may come from pharmaceuticals or come from, the alcohol industry and jump into to this to make money. The Dank Atheist says poll trackers like the one on the Financial Times are saying Biden has been at 264 since yesterday evening. Weird. That's because they're going off the AP count. So I discussed this earlier. The Associated Press gave Arizona to Biden. So if you see the AP count, then Biden is at 264. The reality is Arizona is not Biden's yet. They called it too early. And you have votes coming in right now that favor Trump in Arizona. Trump could win Arizona. So they simply called Arizona too early. They called Arizona like 2 a.m. election night. I don't know why. Maybe they just assumed the remaining vote was going to favor Joe Biden, but it's not right now. It's favoring Donald Trump. So they called that too early. Though I still think it's more likely to go to Joe Biden. They called that too early. Let me go to, let me play this. I believe this is Georgia. Yes.
494. Chatham County, 17,157. Clayton County, 7,400.
I can't show this on screen for copyright issues, but you can hear what's happening.
Floyd County, 682. Forsyth County, 4,700.
Okay, he's just naming off vote counts in Georgia. I'm not really sure what the point of that is. But if we see a shift there, so 61,000, as I said earlier, 61,000 ballots to be counted in Georgia still. Trump leads by 18,000. And the ones coming in heavily favor Joe Biden. I think it's very likely Biden will flip Georgia. 49.6 to 49.2 in Georgia right now. Man, that is close. All right. Pierre Boudreau, did you get the chance to think about the effect of the election on Canada? Also, what's your take on bilingualism in the country? I haven't had a chance to really think about the effect of the election on Canada. But it's the generic effect of American politics on Canada. I mean, it's obvious every day. The way we discuss politics here, we're always looking to the U.S. So as long as we're just a little better than how Americans are right now, whether it's in terms of leadership, whether it's in terms of wealth inequality, then that appears to be the way to kind of shut down any debate, any discussion about improving things in Canada. So, I mean, whenever I visit the U.S., I really feel the wealth inequality. It is insane, the amount of poverty I see in the U.S. compared to Canada. Now, that does exist in pockets in Canada, especially around the Indigenous population and the way that the Canadian government has treated the Indigenous population for our entire existence. But, like, if I go to visit Detroit, what I see in Detroit does not exist in Toronto. Not to the same extent, not even close. So there is a incredible gap between the wealthy and the poor in America. And unfortunately, that stifles the conversation around improving things here. And it's going to continue to do that. Even with, this would have been a side benefit of having Bernie Sanders become president, because Bernie's Medicare for All plan actually goes further than what Canada currently has. Bernie's Medicare for All plan covers dental. It covers pharma. It covers other aspects that our healthcare does not cover. So if you had Medicare for All and it passed, immediately, even possibly the Conservative Party here would be pushing for improving our healthcare system to at least match what Americans would have with Medicare for All. But because the bar is so damn low, we don't have that discussion, at least not in any serious way. The idea of universal pharmacare or the idea of universal dental care comes up every now and then, but because there is no party in power that is serious about it, we never get far with that discussion. Polly says, if Biden loses Nevada, is he done? Even if he wins Pennsylvania, I have a bad feeling about Nevada. Let's go through your scenario. Again, we will continue to wait on Georgia. Supposed to be coming in, or Georgia and Nevada supposed to be coming in soon with some actual counts. But let's go to the map. So let's say Biden goes to Nevada. Let's say Biden takes Arizona. Or sorry, let's say Trump takes Nevada. Let's say Trump takes Arizona. Let's say Trump takes North Carolina. Now what needs to happen? Trump still needs Georgia and Pennsylvania. So even if Trump wins Nevada, wins Arizona, wins Georgia, wins North Carolina, if Biden wins Pennsylvania, Biden still wins. There is a much stronger path for Biden to victory than Donald Trump. All Biden needs is Pennsylvania. And the way the votes are coming in right now, they are heavily favoring Joe Biden. So it's a almost impossible path for Donald Trump. That said, if you remember before the election, all the polling was saying that it's an impossible path for Donald Trump, and he has come really, really, really close. So this is why you can't call it yet. This is why you can't rule out Donald Trump winning. He has exceeded expectations every time. So we're going to wait. But based on the trends that we're seeing with the votes coming in Pennsylvania, in Georgia, Pennsylvania and Georgia especially, Arizona going towards Biden or Trump right now. Nevada, we haven't seen anything for like 12 hours or maybe an entire day, 24 hours. But we should get something in there soon. But the trends in Pennsylvania and Georgia, again, Pennsylvania would be enough. But the trends in both Pennsylvania and Georgia favoring heavily towards Joe Biden. Oh, also, your second question. My take on bilingualism, it's fine. I mean, in terms of in Canada, you really don't hear French spoken outside of Quebec and the Maritimes, so it's not. It's hard for you to add, it's hard for me to answer that question because I don't really have. It doesn't affect my life. It's just kind of I grew up, learning French, but it's never something I have to know. So I wish I spoke French fluently. I do not. Liana Lua says, people are confused about calling of races. There is nothing official about a call. I can call a race just as early as the AP. Thanks, all you do. Who do you mean in terms of calling? Like if a candidate like Trump tried to call Michigan, you can't, doesn't work that way. But I hear what you're saying in terms of the vote. The vote really isn't certified till like the end of this month. But the calling is based on the count. So the media calls, or certain outlets call, experts, I should say, in counting of these votes, they call the races. But nothing is truly official till everything's certified, which can take weeks. But I hear what you're saying. This is a funny account. Account name you killed people if you voted says, brace yourselves, the next 4 years will require radicalization of liberal and conservative proles on a massive scale. All right. Jessica Kibble says, I would like to thank you for your time and helpful analysis. It is really important. Thank you, Jessica. Sam O says, look like there will be 2 runoff Senate races in Georgia. Yes, when I first went live, I discussed this. Georgia, you're looking at Purdue, I feel like right now he's at 50. If he goes below 50, there's going to be a runoff between Purdue and Ossoff. And with the results coming in from Georgia right now, it's very likely Purdue will be under 50%. And you're definitely going to get a runoff for the C2 result there between Warnock and Loeffler, because that's at 33-26. So those 2 races could decide the election. And as somebody pointed out earlier in a super chat, if Biden wins Georgia, that could encourage or accelerate the vote for Democrats in those runoff Senate races. Do a double check here. Has this changed? Nope. Nevada hasn't changed. Arizona, if it's changed, it hasn't changed by much. Pennsylvania. Just to update you guys on Pennsylvania. On election night, I believe Trump was ahead by 11 points. 11 points. Now there's about a 2-point difference between the two here. So it's come down considerably, and the votes left heavily favor Joe Biden, even in the red counties. So all the votes coming in, very, very likely, with how much is left in that state to count, very likely this will flip to Joe Biden. Joshua Sumner says, what is your opinion on the left moving to a third party in 2022? I'm open to it. But it has to be, you have to build it now. And also, I would start with focusing on House races. If there are some districts where there's a potential for a third party insurgent candidate, then push for that. So I'm not opposed to third parties. The issue is the American system does not really allow it. But if you can get people that are in Washington, D.C., that are in the House, then it begins a conversation about potentially, higher up in the ticket. But it takes a lot of work to get on the ballot. It takes a lot of work, a lot of money, not just work, but a lot of money to be competitive in any race like that. You saw with Bernie Sanders as an independent of Vermont, he lost 7, 8, 9 times before he won. So it takes a while to build name recognition, build up, your campaign over the course of those losses, and have the people be familiar with you. And also, something like that is likely more successful in states that are more open to independent candidates and are also maybe less populated. So, I wouldn't jump into Los Angeles and try and push a third party candidate, but somewhere in Vermont, somewhere in Maine, definitely a lot more possible, I would think. Gina McGrath says it appears that both of Georgia Senate races will become, did I read this already? I don't know. It appears that both of Georgia Senate races will become runoffs, so there is hope that Dems may be able to control Senate, but still unlikely. Skank Hunt 42 says, thanks for the early coverage. I work nights, so I love catching before bed. Biden's going to win. Then we can actually push left. 10 Law Gnome says third-party votes could flip some of these states because that's how math works. But sadly, no ranked choice. Didn't mass vote that option down. Yeah, I was looking at ballot measures yesterday. I think it was Massachusetts. It was some state. They voted down the potential for ranked choice ballots. Unfortunate, but oftentimes it takes a massive education campaign to really push people in the right direction when it comes to certain ballot initiatives. Cash Johnston says, can you imagine how intolerable Trump must be right now? I cannot. Luckily, I've actually almost forgotten about Trump these past couple days. I would like to completely forget about him. But yeah. I'm sure he's not pleasant to be around right now. Durandalite says mass voted no on ranked choice voting. Ugh. Unfortunate. Glancing at CNN. So Nevada, Biden up ahead by about 76,000 votes. I'm not sure if anything's changed here. 7,600 votes. Georgia, Trump up by about 18,000. Arizona, Biden up by about 68,000. North Carolina, Trump up by about 76,000. And Pennsylvania, Trump up by about 135,000. But as I said earlier, Pennsylvania, with the amount of vote left, that leans heavily towards Joe Biden's favor, likely to overtake that. The rest we will see. XO says, your moderators blocked me from being able to chat and send you super chats from other accounts for no reason. Answer DMs on Instagram. You just sent one. So it worked. I don't know. I have no idea. I rarely check my DMs. My emails I barely read. I don't have the time. I don't, especially these last few days, or this last month, really. But considering you sent a super chat, I think everything's fine. Cadell DeJoy says, I'm calling it right now. Georgia will yield a net 2,000 plus for Biden when the votes come in. Nick says, any idea what the left will do moving forwards? Biden won't be able to do much at all without the Senate press on executive orders. Yeah, it's going to have to be heavy on executive orders. And bringing up the Senate now, let me bring up this story. McConnell, if he keeps the Senate majority, plans to prevent Joe Biden from stacking his cabinet with liberals and force him to go with centrist options. Yeah. This is... Now, the thing is, I feel like this would have happened anyways. This just gives Biden an excuse to not put anybody like, I don't know, like Bernie Sanders, for example, in his cabinet. But regardless, this will be a huge barrier to any kind of progress, for sure. And it's something we'll have to continue keeping an eye on and discussing once we have an actual result in this election and can have these discussions with any kind of confidence. That sheep says the depths of Trumpians' denial of reality is disgusting. The race being this close shows how social media and our education system are failing us. Sure, yes. At the same time, it is super. Look, in terms of the education, yeah, 100%. But there's got to be blame here on the Democratic Party. That this strategy of just relying on how terrible Trump is didn't pan out, didn't work. You have to offer people a message. You have to give people a reason to come out and vote for you. That was especially clear in Texas, where Latino vote was down and not to the levels that it could have been had, say, Bernie Sanders been on the ticket. So just a total failure when it comes to Democratic Party strategy, it really even separate from policy, because they didn't even really try to engage the Latino vote. It was just this continued obsession of trying to chase Republican voters in white suburban counties. And it's just a failing strategy. Because when it comes down to it, guess what? A lot of those wealthy white suburbs, all they care about is their bottom line, is their cash. And if they feel like that Trump is benefiting them in that way, that Trump's tax cuts for the rich helped them in some way, even though, unless they were incredibly rich, it didn't really help them. But if they feel that, they're going to vote for Trump. So you have to give people who are more working class a reason to come out and vote for you. Just glance here again. Still waiting on Nevada, even though we were expected to get a vote in there soon. Still the same count. Look how close Georgia is. I think it's still the same, but 49.57 to 49.2. Wow. Not many changes yet. An advisor to Biden says Biden's campaign is expected to win Pennsylvania in big numbers. All right. Of course, if you're a Biden advisor, you're going to say that, but it's a big claim. We will see. Gotta find my place in these chats. Aquatic Borealis says, can you check out the cardboard box reform for a way to remove the mechanism that drives lobbying, intimidation, and partisan alignment in legislative bodies? Somebody asked me about this about a year ago. I did look into it. I remember there being a problem. I think what you're discussing introduces a lack of transparency into what politicians back, and gives the assumption that if what they support is not made public, it gives the assumption that they will in fact back the right positions. I don't think that's true. But it's been a while since I looked into cardboard box reform, so I can't be exact on that. But from memory, I looked into it and I didn't exactly agree with it. That sheep says, totally just realized I used the wrong version of R. Don't hate me. I'm not through a full pot of coffee yet. Most of these chats have typos, so don't worry. That's just the way things are. And also the fact that apparently Super Chat limits you to the amount of characters you can type, depending on how much you donate. That also makes it tough to read some of these chats. Jeremy Driscoll says the U.S. is burning down and it's setting off your fire alarm. It's not a drill. Well, I mean, I'm next door, but I guess if the fire's big enough, that could definitely be the case. Brick No says, I'm hoping Trump's loss will divide the grassroots and elitist Republicans, splitting their ability to fight Dems. Hope close Biden win and poor House Senate will cause a leadership change. Bye, Nancy. It likely will, but it doesn't mean it's going to benefit our lives. If they replace Nancy Pelosi with, as I discussed earlier, Hakeem Jeffries, there's no net positive there. You're basically replacing Nancy Pelosi with somebody younger who's just like her. So while the thought of Nancy Pelosi no longer being, the speaker is great, her replacement matters. And right now, this is why you have to continue primarying out the entire leadership. Anybody that is close to leadership, that could potentially be in a position of power in the party, that is more pro-corporate, because they'll always find someone to replace somebody else unless they got no more options left. Dan Ryan 999 says, will Republicans take Senate? If so, what will it be like for Dems in the next 4 years? So I discussed this earlier. It is really close. It will likely come down to two races in Georgia, where you got Purdue and Ossoff likely going to a runoff if Purdue hits under 50%, which seems likely with the votes coming into Georgia right now favoring Joe Biden. And Warnock and Loeffler definitely going to a runoff. And Kelly likely winning in Arizona over McSally, so that would be a Democratic pickup, but won't be enough to flip it. May have to wait for those two seats in Georgia. And then have Kamala Harris basically as the tiebreaker. If you see me glance over here, it's me looking at CNN. I'm just seeing where they are. They have the count on screen. It looks the same. Nothing's changing right now. Okay. Brick Nose says, any chance of Senate flip in 2 years, or is it too much Dem states? It is possible. I mean, it's possible for Democrats to flip it. I forget who's up in 2 years, but I was reading about this yesterday, so it's not. There's been so much I've been reading that I'm forgetting half of it. But I know there are at least a couple states up in 2022 with Senate seats that Democrats could overtake. I believe one's in Pennsylvania. I think. But there is a potential that Dems could gain in 2022. But if there isn't a great enough response from Joe Biden in terms of addressing the pandemic, in terms of addressing wealth inequality, in terms of addressing the eviction crisis, then are Democratic voters really going to come out and, come out in big numbers to support Democratic candidates? That's kind of the question there. Mueller's game says Trump can still win. He's on track to win Georgia, Arizona, and Pennsylvania. It don't work like that. He's leading in Georgia and Pennsylvania, but the vote for Joe Biden is heavily, or the vote coming in right now heavily favors Joe Biden in large counties. So counties like Philadelphia or counties like Atlanta. So very likely Biden will actually flip both. More likely he'll flip Pennsylvania, I believe, even though there's a wider gap. I agree with you on Arizona. With Arizona, Trump is the one with the ballots coming in. They're favoring Donald Trump over Joe Biden, but only by about 59%. So will that continue? We'll have to see. He has to. The remaining votes, Trump needs about 60% of the remaining votes to overtake Joe Biden in Arizona. I don't know if he's going to be able to achieve that, but he's definitely on track in a similar way to the way Biden's on track in Georgia and Pennsylvania, except Biden, his margin is much better in Pennsylvania and Georgia compared to Trump in Arizona. Because Biden, the votes coming in are like 80 to 90% supporting Biden over Trump. Wiretrip says Canada calls soda pop. So is it baking pop? No, it is not. Baking soda is baking soda. I'm not even sure. When I was younger, I definitely called soda pop. But I just say root beer, Coke, Pepsi. I kind of just use the label as opposed to any generic label. I Shoot You says how to move to Canada was trending yesterday on Google. Yeah, I imagine a lot of people are looking that up. I've gotten several questions about that. I keep glancing over just in case anything happens here. Imagine Joey says legal weed in New Jersey. Yes. I went over a number of ballot victories yesterday when it comes to decriminalization and legalization. I believe about 5 states legalized cannabis in some fashion, either medical or recreational or both. South Dakota legalized both at once. I believe Missouri legalized it for extreme situations, like extreme medical conditions, which I don't want to misspeak there. I think it's Missouri. But let me bring up the actual ballot measures here. Gonna have to bring up my video yesterday because I lost the link. Okay, let me see. What's this one? Mississippi, not Missouri. So Mississippi passed this one, Initiative 65. So this is allow medical marijuana for people with debilitating medical conditions. So a very conservative ballot measure here, but still progress in the right direction. But when it comes to other states, let me bring them up. South Dakota, several others. I believe Arizona as well. So ranked choice voting did not pass in Alaska. Arizona legalizing marijuana did pass, 59%. I'll have to discuss this later. Prop 22 in California, not a good result there. Colorado. Let me get to Montana. Montana also legalized it. 56.9. New Jersey legalized it. 66%. And as I said, South Dakota legalized recreational and legalized medical. I believe that's it for that. And Oregon decriminalized. Oregon decriminalized all drugs in a similar way that Portugal did in 2001. And when Portugal did that, so Portugal had the highest rates of addiction, the most criminals in jail due to drug offenses. Then Portugal decriminalized all drugs in 2001, and addictions dropped considerably because they then put money and resources into healthcare and actually getting people off addictions. So instead of criminalizing addiction, they helped people that were addicted and brought the numbers down to the lowest in all of Europe. So decriminalizing is exactly what every friggin' state and country needs to do. That is how you approach this this crisis. Decriminalize and put money into healthcare. Two things that are antithetical right now to American politics, but it has to be done. Okay, let me grab chat. Pierre Boudreau says, thanks for answering my questions. Any hair tips? Here's your hair tip. Don't cut it, and then don't do anything to it. That's exactly what I have done. I have right now a hairband on because my hair would be in my eyes otherwise. But I got no tips because I literally don't do anything to my hair except wash it. I wash it, I dry it, and then it does what it does. This thing on the left says Nevada is slated to release results at 9 a.m. today. 9 a.m. what time? Because right now it is 11:17 my time. I think you mean noon Eastern for me. So we're going to wait. I guess I got to be here till noon. Jesus. That's fine. I'll be here till noon. We'll see what happens at noon. And then hopefully we have results. And then I will take my break and then either come back live in the afternoon or I will shoot some videos. Have not decided. Joe Krockenberg says Biden is taking Georgia and Pennsylvania, pretty sure. I agree with you. I do think that's happening. It is leading in that direction. Scully's Tie says, thanks for all your hard work, David. You're my favorite Canadian, not named Keanu. Rod Cod says, you, Kyle, Jimmy, and Mike are the best, but screw you and your man bun. I don't have a man bun. I can guarantee you that, not that I have nothing against man buns if you have one, but my significant other does not like man buns, so I definitely will never have a man bun. This is just a hairband. I have a metal hairband on. This keeps the hair out of my eyes. That's all. Oh, my CNN feed went down. Okay, there we go. It's back up. Player 2 says, where's the Rash Nash, man? The Rash Nash is right here. Do you mean Rash Hour? The morning Twitch show? I will get back to that once this insanity is over. So for now, this is the morning show on YouTube with all you lovely people. But yes, I will do more on Twitch and likely me leaning more heavily towards playing games as I'm burning out right now during this election. So I need to get my mind off. Once we have a result here, I need to get my mind off some of this shit so I can recharge my brain and be able to properly cover these stories. Purple Nails 22 says, a party that gives political education doesn't need to stand in elections as long as it's a revolutionary socialist party. Wink, wink. CWI, wink. NY Mets 73 says, I voted Green Party, but I want Biden to win Pennsylvania. All right. I hope you're not in Pennsylvania. If you want Biden to win Pennsylvania and you voted Green and you're in Pennsylvania, then apparently you voted for the wrong party. But what's funny is in Wisconsin, I believe the Libertarian candidate there got enough votes that potentially took away from Donald Trump winning in Wisconsin. And people are making jokes like, are Republicans going to be complaining about Joe Jorgensen for the next 4 years for Trump losing the election? Probably not. But the Democratic Party always punches left. That's what they do. Until we take them over with people that are not the current Democratic Party, and then remake them in our own image. That's the goal here. Lost my place in the chat. Gotta find where I am now. Taking a glance here at the vote, at the television. What's going on? Nothing's really changed. I expect at 12 p.m. Eastern time, we will get some more results. Ryan Nowicki says, do you think Trump's nepotism and disregard for emoluments has set a precedent and opened the door for similar behavior for all POTUS moving forward? We're going to have to see. If you're asking if I think that, I don't. I think Trump is a unique animal in that sense. I think he's able to get away with it because he's such a character. I don't even think somebody like, say, a Tom Cotton could get away with the kinds of just violations that Trump has had throughout his presidency in regards to emoluments and benefiting from his status as president. So while I think it's very possible that Trump has opened the door to that, it's going to take another Trump-like figure. And I don't just mean in terms of politics. I mean in terms of the right-wing comedian aspect of Donald Trump that is not common in most politicians. It's going to take someone like that to be able to continue to lead while being so corrupt. So I don't know. I don't know. But I don't think so. Anonymous commenter says if Biden wins Georgia but Trump wins the rest, it'd be 269 unless my math is off. Well, let's check it out. If Biden wins Georgia but Trump wins the rest. Let's see. I think you are correct about that, though. So let's say Biden wins Georgia, then Trump wins Arizona, Trump wins Nevada, Trump wins North Carolina, wins Pennsylvania. No, Trump would win. There is... I think there... No, that Trump still wins in that scenario. Say Biden wins Arizona. I don't know. I think there is a certain calculation that, in terms of what you're saying, that makes this possible. But I'd have to play around to find out exactly. So I don't know. Let's check the counts here. Looks the same. Looks the same. Check Georgia. Looks the same. Pennsylvania looks the same. So, and by the way, as I said a million times, this map auto updates. You see here, last updated 11:24 a.m. Auto updates. Don't worry, I don't have to refresh the page. Just a voice, thank you for your super chat twice. That sheep says, I totally agree. Dems bring no policy to the people. We have political chess being played by Pelosi and McConnell, and the winner of that game gets PAC money. Ultimately, they both get the money. But yeah. Silver7 says, how long are you planning on streaming? Thanks for these streams before work, keeping me sane. I'm going to stream at least until noon. So about 30 more minutes, because I want to see if we do get a vote in from Georgia And from Nevada, or I mean, for that matter, all these states, but we're supposed to get a vote in from Nevada at 12. So in about 30 minutes, and we'll see where the rest sit at that point. You killed people if you voted says 2 years. Majority of Senate seats up for grabs come next midterm are currently Republican. Yeah, that's what I was reading as well. So there is a potential there, but it would require a different Democratic strategy. Using this strategy is not the way to win seats. So they have to. They need a new strategy and candidates that actually represent unions, workers, the people. Because if they keep putting up these shit candidates, they're gonna keep expecting to win and they're gonna keep losing. I mean, look at the races in like South Carolina. Lindsey Graham was down in polling, and he ended up winning that by what? It was a much larger margin than polling was showing. Look, Lindsey Graham beat Harrison 56% to 43%, even though polling was showing that at about even. And he beats Harrison by almost 10 points. I mean, sorry, more than 10 points. Like, completely off. Polling was completely off. Kentucky, another one. McConnell. Look how 58% to 38% for McConnell. Polling there showed McGrath down by about 10 points. She got destroyed. You could have had Charles Booker. I'm not saying Booker would have won, but Booker actually had a message. He spoke to communities who've been ignored in Kentucky. But no, put up somebody who was ultra conservative to go against Mitch McConnell, and guess what? They choose the actual conservative. They choose the actual Republican over the Democrat every time. But this is the same bullshit they do every time. And this is like, I expect this from the party because the Democratic Party is never going to back a left-wing agenda. They're never going to back an anti-corporate agenda. But when it comes to the analysis and people continuing to fall for the media analysis of people saying, oh, it's because socialism. Yes, that's why Jamie Harrison lost in South Carolina, because socialism. That's why Biden lost Florida, because socialism. You chose the most conservative candidates and you still blame people on the left? Are you insane? They will never take the blame because they want to push a certain agenda. So they will never absorb the blame for being a shitty candidate and having a terrible platform that appeals to nobody. They will never take the blame. But it's on you to inform others about the bullshit that they continue pushing out there and trying to blame the left for their own losses. As I showed you earlier with Lawrence, talking about how nothing at all wrong. These candidates for Senate, they were fantastic. Sure, they lost, but they were great candidates. If they were left-wing candidates, people in the media on television would not be saying they were great candidates. They'd be saying, oh, they lost because they were too left-wing. But when they're corporate-friendly candidates, oh, great candidates, just you couldn't beat Mitch McConnell, but they were, great candidates. Get the fuck out of here. It's the same bullshit every time. How often do we have to hear the same crap? And it's amazing. I have friends and family who text me about their conversations with their friends and family about Americans in their lives that are in their circle, and how their friends are saying, well, Biden, it's only this close because Biden was attacked with socialism and people that are left wing. If Bernie ran, Bernie would have got destroyed. Like, how much more evidence do you need that is bullshit? How much more evidence do you need? Democrats keep running these shit candidates and keep losing and still blame the left. Insane. Completely insane. And all you have to do is look at the ballot measures. Florida passed a $15 minimum wage ballot measure. Legalizing marijuana passed all across the country. Decriminalizing drugs passed in Oregon. Like, the amount of left-wing policy passed through ballot measures shows you where people's political instincts, where their ideology actually lie. The issue is they have no party representing that message. Or look at polling based on policy when it comes to Medicare for all, when it comes to a wealth tax, when it comes to higher taxes on the wealthy, on corporations. The majority of people support those policies, but there is no candidate that is fighting for that. I mean, you even have Joe Biden backing fracking. Total idiot. Total idiot. You have to energize a base of people that are disillusioned by this two-party system. This is why you have so many people identify as independents. Most people don't identify as either Republican or Democrat. The plurality of people identify as independent. And it's been that way for about 10 years at least now, because neither party is representing the actual working class voter. I'm always glancing at the TV, glancing at the map, seeing what's going on, making sure I'm not behind here. I think I was here. Andrea Haas says, voted for Biden in North Carolina, got 4 others to vote as well. Terrifying that I'm surrounded by almost 3 million Trump supporters. Send help. Well, I really don't know what's going to happen in North Carolina. This is the one state I haven't heard enough discussion about it. My understanding is the vote that's left is early vote. I don't know if it leans heavily enough towards Biden for him to flip that. But I'm going to wait and see. Lux Monkey says Biden revealed his Republican-steeped cabinet already. That article starts 4 years of excuses for inaction by the White House as Dems go back to sleep. Oh yeah, I'm sure it's going to be this. Yes, I agree with you. It's going to be the same garbage strategy that got them to Trump to begin with. But that's why you got to get involved in primaries, get involved in politics, run yourself if you can. Give people an option. Every Democrat in Congress that is pro-corporate should face a primary challenge. The issue always comes with these left-wing challengers is the money. Because we don't rely on corporate money, because the left doesn't rely on big donors, it's a lot tougher to run those races, which is why you see Justice Dems having to focus on a few races, but being successful in those races, like getting out Elliot Engel with Jamal Bowman, getting out Lacey Clay with Cori Bush. But you need more of those people out. You need to get more of those Democrats out. You got to replace them. Austin Waldron says, do you think there's a scenario where AOC runs for president in 2024? I think it's possible. I'm not sure it's the best choice, to be honest with you. Depending on, it may be too early for her in 2024. But Nina Turner, I think, would be a great choice for 2024. She's also an outsider, appeals to that outsider mentality while also actually being a voice for the working class. Amy Walden says, when are you running for prime minister? You have the hair for it. I will not be, I will never run. Also, you don't really run for prime minister here. You run for a seat as an MP, and then at some point you run for leadership. I guess you can run for leadership without being a member of parliament, but it's tougher to win that way. Strange Doss says, last I checked, the Libertarian candidate in Georgia had twice the votes as the difference between Biden and Trump. Let me read this again. Last I checked, the Libertarian candidate in Georgia had twice the votes as the difference between Biden and Trump. Yeah, that's about right. Joe Jorgensen may have cost Donald Trump Georgia if Biden ends up overtaking in Georgia. Again, I don't really, just like I don't think the Green Party cost the Democratic Party the election in 2016. I don't think Joe Jorgensen, people have this built-in assumption that if they lack options, then those libertarian voters are going to vote for Trump. That's just not true. Same with the Green Party. If Jill Stein wasn't on the ballot in 2016, it doesn't automatically mean that those voters go to Hillary Clinton. It shows a complete unawareness of the Green Party vote. So the idea of blaming the Libertarian candidate or blaming the Green Party in 2016, it's absurd. But using the Democratic strategy of always attacking the left, they attacked Jill Stein for the past 4 years. Do you think the GOP is going to attack Joe Jorgensen for the next 4 years? I'm going to say no, because they often, Republicans don't do that, don't take that strategy. In fact, they embrace their most radicalized base. whereas the Democratic Party actually fights their base. It is absurd. And you see who wins, by the way. You see who, even in an election where Trump is expected to be just completely destroyed, they still pick up seats in the House, have the election come this close with a disastrous president. And that's because they actually embrace their base when the Democratic Party ignores their base and spits in their face. And again, when I say party, I mean leadership, because the Democratic Party is just a shell. You can replace the people in that shell with other people, and then the party becomes something else. But the current makeup of the Democratic Party leadership spits in the face of their base. Losing my voice, I am. Jesus. It's like yesterday. Air is dry. Combination of dry air and being live every single day, a lot of speaking, has ruined my voice. I need to get some green tea and honey. Mari Lewis, thank you for your super chat. Rashad Patel, if Trump loses, can he run in 2024? I believe he can. I don't think he will. I just don't think. I think he's done with politics. He'll hold rallies. He'll do his usual shit. Maybe he'll start a media company. I have no idea. He should be in jail, but I'm sure Democrats and everyone else will just be like, oh, it's time to move on. Can't look in the past. This is what Obama did with George Bush. Can't look in the past. Can't look at the crimes in the past. We have to move forward, even though crime always happens in the past. That's how that's how you prosecute people. You look at what they did in the past and you go after them. But when it comes to presidents, oh, you could be a war criminal, doesn't matter. We can't look behind us, gotta look forward. They'll pull that same shit with Donald Trump. I will say though, I don't think Trump will be, reaccepted back into the political circle the way that George Bush has been. And that's simply because of the way that Trump presents himself. George Bush, while being racist, while being a war criminal president, did not, his rhetoric was not hateful in that sense. He was able to hide who he actually was, what he actually did. Donald Trump is just out in the open. And the political class doesn't want to embrace that because it exposes them for what they are. So I think they will continue to reject Trump because of that rhetoric that he had during his presidency. But that doesn't mean they're going to go after him. I don't think they're going to go after him. Malcolm Marzo says, Canada? Heck, Mexico is even better. Under Obrador. Has universal health care and closely monitored fair elections. Yeah, I haven't read too much about Mexico since Obrador took over. I don't. I'm not quite sure how things are going there. Mari Lewis says, can you explain why some places show Biden having 264 votes? Oh, you mean electoral vote? Yeah, so that is because the Associated Press, that's where they're getting this from, they called Arizona for Biden early when they shouldn't have. Arizona was called for Biden on election night at about 2 a.m. I don't know why they called it, because right now you have votes coming in Arizona that are favoring Donald Trump. And it's possible Donald Trump overtakes Joe Biden here in Arizona. I think it's still more likely that Joe Biden wins because the margin coming in for Donald Trump's only about 59%. He needs about 60% of the remaining vote to overtake Biden in Arizona. Regardless, I think it's going to be a close result, but they should not have called Arizona, but they did. Other places like Decision Desk, CNN, MSNBC did not call Arizona for Biden yet. So still waiting on the count there. Going to see if anything has changed. I think this is the same. Or has Trump's share gone down? I don't know. But 49.53 to 49.23. Oof. What a close race. Okay, don't see any major changes. AV You and Me says, you think there's a validity to the report that at one point in the counting, Biden in Wisconsin got 140,000 votes in a row from mail-in votes and Trump didn't get any? My Republican friends are raging. It's the way the votes are entered. No, there's no... Biden won Wisconsin. The idea, like, who would steal the election? People don't even see the votes. They go into a machine. They're taken out of a piece of mail, but you can't see who wins, and then it goes into a machine. It gets recorded. Like, no conspiracy theory. Let's stop with the conspiracy bullshit, because you have, as I said, while you have Biden increasing in Pennsylvania and Georgia, you have Trump coming back in Arizona. So both candidates right now are benefiting from counting all the ballots. Nobody is benefiting exclusively. So it all depends. Majin Joey says black voters doing big things in Atlanta and Philly. You mean in terms of the vote? I suppose. Grab more chats here. Maybe I'll pause on the chats for a minute to go to... I saved a bunch of stories that I may cover later on in a larger video, but let me see what I got here. Let's check out what Chuck Rocha, or is it Rocha? I always forget how to say his name. But let's see what he had to say.
Going to be a lot of Sunday morning, Monday morning quarterbacking on what happened. I've been doing this for 31 years. I've been watching the Latino vote come and go, ebb and flow. We're becoming younger. The average Latino voter in America is 27. But you've always got to take Florida and you kind of got to set it over to the side. Joe Biden's going to do fine with the Latino vote and all the other states. But we do need to do a deep dive in Florida and how the money was actually spent, because I watched a lot of money go through a lot of woke white consultants and go around the Latino communities on the ground.
What do you think about the messaging the Biden team did when the Trump team tried to paint Biden as a socialist? And that obviously resonated with a number of voters in Miami-Dade.
I remember getting a phone call from Brother Joe Garcia down there that was a congressman. This was in the late summer, and he was like, Chuck, you got to get somebody on these Miami radio stations to push back on this socialism and communism stuff. He goes, I know that it's wrong. We all get that it's wrong, any of us with half of a brain, but you just have to push back every day and put together an operation. That, coupled with probably the most misinformation campaign that I've ever seen run in Spanish in my 31 years of running campaigns. And I've come from Texas. I've seen a few misinformations. What we saw in Florida, what we saw in Miami had a dramatic effect. How big will yet to be seen, but I've never seen the disinformation and just the badness what people were doing to our community by spreading lies.
Yeah, there was a lot of misinformation pushed out by the Trump campaign in Florida, Miami-Dade County, where Trump saw serious gains. Even though Biden still won that county, Clinton had won that county by over 60%. Biden only won it by, I think, like 53%. So a lot of misinformation out there pushed by the Trump campaign. But of course, Democratic Party not pushing back enough, not offering their own message to voters in those communities to encourage them to come out and vote. The same Democratic failures every single time. So we're about 15 minutes away from some extra results here in at least Nevada. Or is it Nevada? Nevada, whatever the hell it is. Some votes coming in at about 12 noon. Hopefully, going to get some more from Arizona. And this is the problem with covering this stuff live. We could get some results in Arizona or in Nevada, and I may feel good. Got to go get lunch, and then I go offline, and all of a sudden it's like Biden wins the election. So I got to be vigilant today. it's very likely I will come back after whenever I drop off here, maybe in about 20 minutes or so, to take a break. It's very likely I'll come back in the afternoon if we get a result. But tough to know, as all these states are facing their own different procedures for counting the results. Okay, back to chats here. DVDV says, wait, what? Since when do you have a significant other? Grats. For a long time. Since before I started the channel. That's how long. Dish Eddie says, hey, first time coming to your live stream. Good content. I live in Indiana and unsure if I want to pursue a career in America. What? India or Indiana? Indiana. Oh, you currently... Okay, so you're thinking about moving. I see what you're saying. I live in Indiana and unsure if I want to pursue a career in America. Should moving to Canada be a serious consideration the way America is going? Cheers. I think you got to stay and fight. You got to stay and fight. The good people in America, you people watching, since you're here, you're all good. You got to stay and fight. Also, look, I don't fully understand. I don't know our immigration process here, but I know it's not easy. It's not easy to just move to Canada. So it may just be a long, arduous process that doesn't actually result in you moving here. So I would say stay where you are, stay and fight. The people that are there need you. And understand there is progress happening. You are seeing members of Congress like the Squad, like Jamal Bowman, like Cori Bush, like others. You're seeing growth there in terms of the working class beginning to have a voice. Continue that fight. Get involved in local races, in state races. Get involved or be part of a union if you are, and be engaged in that. Be engaged in the working class fight. Join a political group. There are ways that you can use your energy, your power into improving society. And it does require, a bit of time, but it's necessary, and the changes are beginning to happen. This stuff doesn't happen, overnight, but you put in the effort, it does pay off over time. It just takes some time to see the results. Brick Nose says, how many new progressives won their races? So I don't have the count on that, but pretty much everybody that won the primary, as far as I understand, won the race, except for Kara Eastman. Kara Eastman, unfortunately, lost in Nebraska's 2nd district. But apart from that, my understanding is, and that race, by the way, was so close. So close. And I'll check it later. But it was so close. But I don't have the final results in front of me, so I don't know. But, Jamal Bowman won a seat. Cori Bush won her seat. Others that were heavily favored, that were progressives, won their seat. Maybe if I have a proper breakdown at some point over the next week or so, I will give you that in a video. Continuing to keep an eye here. What is happening? I'm not seeing much changes. That's the same. This appears to be the same. Okay, and by the way, yes, in case you came in late, this map auto updates. You can check the timestamp. Dustin DPS says, what are the chances for a true left candidate primarying Biden in 2024, assuming he wins today? Also, where is the best place to move it to in Canada? Just wondering. Okay, the first question. What are the chances of a true left candidate primarying Biden? I think it's more possible than people think. I don't think Biden's going to I don't think Biden's going to run for re-election. I think he will give it up to Kamala Harris, but I think he's going to leave it to the last minute, knowing Joe Biden. And because of that, it's going to cut into Kamala Harris's ability to properly campaign for 2024. Meaning that opens up a window for a more progressive candidate to really start campaigning, in 2022 and begin to start that conversation and begin to normalize the idea of primarying whoever is going to be the candidate in 2024. And with the amount of support you've seen for progressive candidates in the past, and assuming Biden is not as successful with his 4 years is not successful in his 4 years, like I think he's essentially going to be handicapped if we have a GOP Senate, or even if it's 50-50 with a tiebreaker. He's going to be handicapped there. He's going to have a hard time pushing a proper agenda through. Going to have a hard time actually getting help to people, even if he wanted to. So that's going to hamper his successes, and I think it's very possible to have a challenge to either him or Kamala Harris in 2024 from the left. And I think its success there is possible for sure. Also, you say, where is the best place to move to in Canada? If I think I discussed this yesterday. If I was just coming from out of the country, never lived here, I would say British Columbia, because you get the mountains, you get the ocean. I think it's a win-win. But it's also very expensive, depending where you look. Vancouver is very expensive, but you can find a more remote place in British Columbia, maybe like Kelowna or Victoria. Find a different place there to live that's a little less expensive, though I think those places are still expensive. But that's where I would move if I was just coming here with a blank slate. I would move to British Columbia somewhere. 10 Law Gnome says, please keep in mind that 2022 will be run on new congressional maps based on 2020 census and 2021 state houses. Florida/Texas gain seats and California/New York lose seats. Interesting. I will have to look more into that the closer we get to 2022. Duranda Light says, if Trump wins, mass exodus of the left into Canada will get you your dental. I don't know. I don't think so. I think you'd be happy just to have basic health care, that it will hamper your desire to push for anything else, but we'll see. Jeff Coley says, because of the situation of Trump's taxes, should all candidates be required to reveal taxes before running for POTUS? I think so. I think more transparency, the better. Yeah, why not? Anonymous commenter says, I forgot that Maine and Nebraska split theirs. Yes, they do. That is right. Yeah. So in Maine, Biden, I believe, only got is it 3? So there's 4 electoral votes in Maine. I think Biden got 3 of them. Trump got 1. And in Nebraska, Biden got 1 and Trump got the rest. So that's how that played out. Less than 10 minutes to hopefully seeing some more results out of Nevada. Which, this is something to watch. Since you already had the Associated Press call Arizona for Joe Biden, if he then wins Nevada, that takes him over. So are we going to have a situation where the Associated Press calls the election for Joe Biden, while other places like CNN, MSNBC hold off because they have yet to call Arizona? So that is something to watch. Let's check the map here. Let's say Biden wins. So in their scenario, Biden has already won Arizona. Let's say he wins Nevada. He has 270. He wins the election. But he doesn't actually have Arizona yet. It was called too early by the Associated Press. So we may be on the brink of some madness here where the election is called by some and not called by others. Gonna have to see, because I'm not really sure how MSNBC and others are going to react to that if you have the AP calling the election because they assume Biden wins Arizona. Unless we get the Arizona results in at the same time and Biden does win Arizona, then we avert catastrophe. Harris Rudolph says Tucker Carlson 2024 would win in a landslide against a Biden admin that has no Senate. Yeah. It sounds crazy, but so did Trump 2016 sounded crazy. I think it's very possible that Tucker Carlson runs in 2024. Because the GOP base, they want these characters. They want these people that appear to be anti-establishment, even though Tucker Carlson, he's part of a very wealthy family. That's why he's so rich. But yeah, he's a character enough, I suppose, to potentially pick up that Trump support. Ekim Oniram says, I think if Biden and Dems would have simply been strong and campaigned on $15 minimum wage, I think we would have won Florida and Rust Belt easily. I agree with you. If Biden hit those points a lot more than he did, his focus almost entirely, like 90%, 95% of what Biden talked about was Donald Trump and him not being a leader, him, sowing division, pushing hatred, all that. Like, it was more about the I guess cultural impact of Donald Trump than it was about any specific policy. Nothing wrong about going after Trump on those issues, of course, but you need a message to encourage people to come out and vote. You need to offer something to people, and Biden did not discuss. Really losing my voice now. Biden did not discuss enough what he was running on, even though in many cases it was not enough. It was still a message that was worth running on and bringing up and discussing the expansion of healthcare and the public option and all that. And he barely talked about it. AVU and me says, Democrat here, GOP people around me saying Biden jumped 100,000 votes in a row, Trump none at one point in the counting with mail-in ballots in Wisconsin. True. I don't know. And look, anything you hear from these people sounds like bullshit. So regardless of how it looks like on a map like this, understand the votes are certified in a way like there was no trickiness going on behind the scenes. As I said, some states are benefiting Biden right now, like Pennsylvania, Georgia. Other states, Arizona, right now the mail-in balloting is benefiting Donald Trump. So considering the amount of misinformation and conspiracy theories that are pushed by people that are Trump supporters, why would you even entertain the idea that anything they're saying is true? So no, it's bullshit. Laura Nicole, 84, says, David, I live in Nevada. They said 10 a.m. and is the time they'll update the numbers. It's 8:26 here. I thought they said 12 Eastern time. Well, we're going to find out. Because even television was telling me 12 Eastern time. XO says, I think you can unban me. It's Celeste, by the way. All right, I'll check later. Mods, unban Celeste. I'm not sure why you're banned, but if you were spamming, please don't spam. But I this is not really important right now. Peter King says Kamala Harris versus Ivanka Trump. I'm really losing my voice. Kamala Harris versus Ivanka Trump in 2024. That sounds horrible. Jordan House says, what hair care products do you use? I can tell yours is more prone to getting frizzy, but it looks great and managed. I could use some tips. Haha. Somebody asked this earlier. I don't do anything to my hair. I'm not even I shampoo, I condition, I dry my hair, I brush it back, and then it settles in a very curly, frizzy fashion, which is why I have a hairband on right now to hold my hair back. Otherwise, it'd be in my face. But I literally don't do anything else to my hair. I would like to get some leave-in conditioner, but every time I go to the store, I can't find it. So at some point, I will get some leave-in conditioner. Maybe that will lessen the frizz a little bit. But as it stands, I don't do anything to my hair. Tony Parker says Wisconsin is one of the 19 states that allows same-day voter registration. That means the correct comparison is eligible voters, not registered ones. Let me read this again. Wisconsin is one of the 19 states that allows same-day voter registration. That means the correct comparison is eligible voters, not registered ones. All right. Pat the Batman fan says, all of this because Obama punked him at a press dinner. Think about that. I don't know if that was the reason Trump ran. I'm sure it was on his mind. But Trump was already... For years, for decades, Trump had been asked about, oh, will you ever run for politics? Will you ever run for president? It didn't just pop up because Obama punked him one time. So it's always been something that's been discussed with Donald Trump. But I hear you. DVDV says Georgia's got that tiny bit closer again, 0.3%. Did they? It looks the same to me. 49.53 to 49.24. It's been that way for a while now. Though you may be looking at the AP result. I gotta delete some of these. So maybe they're showing something different. Show it. What's going on here? No, show all of Georgia. Looks the same. It is 12:01. Are we going to see some results here? Let's check out Decision Desk. Still the same. Gonna have to wait. I think my MSNBC stream is a bit off in terms of time, but maybe we'll get a result here shortly. Still the same. Yeah, the person that messaged earlier may be right. May have to wait another, hour and a half? Jesus Christ. Or hour? We'll have to see. Okay, well, we will see if this goes solid blue or not. Or maybe goes red. Who knows? Christian Cho says, who would you like to see take Kamala Harris's Senate seat? Ro Khanna, potential. Barbara Lee, potential. Maybe some kind of outsider. As in political outsider. But, I mean, Ro Khanna or Barbara Lee probably are good choices. I'm sure there's some others that don't come to mind, but anybody to the left of her would be an improvement. Pertherian says Trump is the fever, not the infection. Biden is the aspirin, not the antibiotic. Kate Moran says expected PhD. Sorry, I'm going to glance at the TV here for a second. If anything is changing. Nothing changing. All right, we're still waiting. Kate Moran says, expected PhD candidate in economics. I will be researching the power buyers have over local housing costs, as well as the power employees have over their wages without unions. Your views inspire me to find the answers. Thank you. That's amazing. That's awesome. Congrats. The amount of work it takes to achieve what you're going to achieve is immense. So, good work. MC Dano says, breaking news, Philly vote counting has halted. Has it? I don't know about this yet. JM says progressive Dems should avoid calling themselves socialists. Most of them aren't actually socialists. Socialism is a toxic word in U.S. that loses votes. I do think there is some strategicness that can be added to this. FDR Democrat, maybe a better way to describe yourself. Social Democrat, more accurate way to describe yourself. But yeah, I hear you. I think in some places it's toxic, and for others it's not. For Gen Z, it's not toxic at all. Socialism wins over capitalism for Gen Z. But if you're trying to appeal to certain demographics, absolutely. Messaging, framing, rhetoric matters a lot. Gonna quickly just put this on.
Make sure I get this right. Thousands of examples of ballots mailed across the county and ending up in garbage cans. They were saying that they were filing a lawsuit in federal.
Oh, okay, it's Trump filing a lawsuit. All right. I couldn't care less. All right, I may take a short break. Maybe I'll put a video on for you all as I do that. Because I don't want to go away just yet. We're still got to wait for these results. Jesus. Every day. It would be nice to get a result today. I will say that. It would be nice. Would have been nice to get a result 2 days ago. But would be nice to get a result today. Okay. Soon, Nevada officials expected to update election results. I don't know why they're not giving us a proper time frame. Last night they were saying 12 noon. In fact, they were saying possibly 9 a.m. Eastern time. So they keep pushing back. But I'm going to take a quick break, get some more water here, and while I do that, here you go. Play a little update here. This is only posted a couple hours ago, so it's still fairly current.
Find MSNBC correspondent Jacob Soboroff and editor.
Let me bring up the audio. All right, I'll be right back.
Of the Nevada Independent, John Ralston. Right now, Joe Biden is ahead in Nevada by about 7,600 votes, with thousands of ballots still uncounted as of yesterday. Jacob, we'll start with you. What do we know at this point of the timing for those ballots to be counted?
You said it, Mika. It is incredibly close here. And to be honest with you, it's relatively quiet when it comes to ballots being counted here at the Clark County Election Center. The first poll workers and election observers are just starting to show up for this morning. And actually, I kid you not, a nice woman came up to me named Donna. She said she was a Morning Joe viewer. She was very excited to see us out here. She won't be watching the show this morning, but she will be conducting, I think, what is, in all seriousness, arguably one of the most important roles any citizen can play right now, and that is observing the counting of the ballots here. 6 electoral votes, I don't think it's an exaggeration to say, John Ralston would probably tell you this too, are very well going to come out of this facility behind me. They have been counting for days. They have been counting deliberately. I wouldn't say slowly, but they have been counting very deliberately here, where they count about 70,000 votes a day. And that doesn't necessarily mean we're going to know the results today here in Las Vegas, Nevada. The vast majority of the votes, potentially tens of thousands, if not more than that, votes are outstanding here. And we'll get an update around 10 o'clock local time, 1 o'clock on the East Coast, about where that vote count stands and what happened with that 8,000 vote margin. But as of right now, it stands at 8,000. They went home for the evening. We're 50 ununited states of America when it comes to voting rules and regulations. And while we have seen some overnight counts, even in other parts of this state, that wasn't the case here last night, Mika.
So, John Ralston, the spread, as Jacob says, about 8,000, 7,600 votes, an advantage for Joe Biden. Where do you see the outstanding vote here? Could that lead grow for Joe Biden? Or on the other hand, could Donald Trump cut into that lead and perhaps overtake Joe Biden based on what's out?
Well, all we can do is speculate, but we can do it in an educated way, since we know that most of the votes are in Clark County, which is Las Vegas, which is very heavily Democratic. And we know that these are mail ballots. We usually don't use a lot of mail ballots in Nevada, but there have been hundreds of thousands of mail ballots returned this time because of the pandemic.
All right. Pause there, as this is not really important. Double checking here. Gonna peek in on, see what Steve Kornacki's doing.
600 votes over Donald Trump.
I can't
in
show this,
Nevada.
but you can hear it.
Now, we're told that the votes that are yet to come, they're mail ballots, they're provisional ballots. They were delivered on Election Day in some cases. So there's some expectation here that when these ballots start coming in, they may favor Biden. But you have to see. You have to wait and see. And that is the waiting game, obviously, right now in Nevada. Again, this hour, we're expecting potentially to get an update. So I'm going to let you know, did we just get the update? We just got an update in Nevada. let me just, it's going up to 12,000. There it is. Okay, so before, I'm going to do some math right here and just give you a quick look at this.
There we go. See? Wasn't wrong. There you go. So Biden was up by about 7,500 votes. He's now up. Taking a look at Kornacki's numbers here. He's now up by about 1 percentage point, increasing his lead. He's at 597 to 585. So basically doubling his lead almost. Meaning Biden very likely to take Nevada, as we already kind of assumed. But there you go. So, of course, can't be called yet. The votes aren't in. But as expected, Biden likely to take that, as he will continue to increase his lead with more mail-in ballots coming. I mean, when you see a giant chunk like that just get dropped, and it heavily favors Biden, and those are the counties we're still waiting for, it's going to likely continue favoring Biden in similar numbers.
We're going to continue to keep an eye on that, and I'll show you, meanwhile, what we're looking at in other states here. In Pennsylvania right now, Donald Trump sitting at 116,000 votes. That's his lead right now. That's come down in the last few minutes because we just got updates from Erie County. Erie County, you see it's red here. Trump is leading overall. But the update we got was mail ballots, absentee ballots from Erie County. And Biden actually made gains there because, again, Biden's been doing very well with the absentee vote, the mail vote. They didn't count that on Election Day in a lot of places. They're counting it now. And so Biden's
even, as I said earlier, Biden's even gaining in Pennsylvania in counties that Trump won because of the mail-in ballots. So Biden's increasing his lead everywhere, not just in in blue counties, but also in red counties. So Pennsylvania very likely to flip. Just going to take time to count all the votes.
Biggest single source of outstanding vote is Philadelphia. There's probably there's a range here of possibilities, you know, maybe from about 90,000 to 110,000 votes or so. It would appear to come out of Philadelphia still. And again, Biden is winning these votes overwhelmingly in Philadelphia. So if you look at a 116,000 vote lead statewide for Donald Trump, and you got somewhere around, say, 90,000 votes to come in Philadelphia, and Biden's winning those votes at like a 9-to-1 clip, those Philadelphia ballots, if they continue at that pace, could erase much of that Trump lead. And then there are other places here we're also waiting on. We're waiting on Lehigh counties.
Okay, still waiting on Pennsylvania and all these states. Nevada, Arizona, Georgia, North Carolina, Pennsylvania. Nothing has changed except for the increased lead for Joe Biden right now in Nevada. And this is really just over the course of the day. And I, at some point, have to figure out how long am I going to be here streaming, because I'm not sure we're going to get an immediate result. Just checking my Twitter notifications because I have the Associated Press on notifications in case any states are called. But all right, let me take a look at the AP result then. See what they have. God, this is not a good interface. Let me click the state and then don't go to a county. How about that? Click the state, stay where it is. So they have, 49.5 to 48.5. Same count as everybody else. Still weird they would call Arizona so early. Okay, enough of this horrible interface. Back to the chats. And I think I have some other stories I saved. Yes, I do. Maybe not. Anyways, I'll wait on that. Let me grab some chats here. I just realized I definitely lost my place. Definitely lost my place in the chat. Gonna have to go by memory. So Biden leading Philadelphia County, Pennsylvania, 80%. And the votes coming in for him favor him by about 90%. Seems to be very likely Pennsylvania will flip. Okay, finding my place here in the chat. Here we go. I have no idea what this name is. 50WGPIN1GQ says, what do you think is reasonable to expect Bernie to achieve if Biden becomes president? Well, Bernie won't be achieving anything by himself. But if you mean his agenda, what is reasonable? $15 minimum wage, since Biden ran on that. But if you have the Senate in the way, then nothing. Then nothing. I mean, immediately what needs to be done is some help for people in terms of the pandemic. Facing a looming eviction crisis, 30 to 40 million people set to be evicted, people losing their health care because they lost their job, and health care in America tied to your employer, a completely ridiculous system. So a lot has to be done on those issues. But apart from any sort of stimulus for the people, pandemic stimulus, $15 minimum wage, I guess, seems the most likely just because Biden actually ran on that. But if you have the Senate in the way, then nothing's getting done. H. Ralph Ganger says, Trump campaign live now announcing lawsuit against Nevada State. Yeah, I don't care. They can announce whatever they want. They're trying to muddy up the results here. They have no control. The count is the count. It's hilarious to try to stop the results where he's losing, yet in Arizona where he's gaining. Oh, no, Arizona's perfectly fine. Yes, count all the mail-in ballots in Arizona where I'm beginning to take a lead over Joe Biden. But stop them all where I'm losing. Get the hell out of here. I don't care about his bullshit. Natalie Robinson, thank you for your chat. Austin Waldron says, I know it's sketch, but industry veteran voice actors swear by this throat syrup when they're overused / hurt their voice. I don't need it. But I'll keep it in mind. My voice is like this just right now because I've done a live stream for 3 days, and the air is really dry right now in Ontario. Lucky Cat, thank you for your super chat. J-Dub is a shill, says, how is it possible to have thousands of votes show up at 4 a.m. across the states in question and all of them be for Biden? Makes no sense. The votes don't show up at 4 a.m. The counting is being done at all times, being done right now. But at certain times, they then release the batch in terms of what they counted and accumulate that all at once. So the votes didn't show up at 4 a.m. The votes were already there. The votes were in. It's when the counting was reported. The issue, especially with Pennsylvania, is that Trump pushed to have Pennsylvania not be able to count the early ballots, not be able to count the mail-in ballots before Election Day. Other states like Florida, this is why Florida's done. We know the results in Florida because they were actually able to count the ballots as they came in. In Pennsylvania, they had to wait until election night to count them. So this is why we're still waiting for the result in these counties. And the counties left, of course, more heavily populated. Because they're more heavily populated, they favor Joe Biden. That combined with the fact that Democratic voters voted by mail at higher rates than Republican voters did. That is why they favor Joe Biden in big numbers. The difference in Arizona is apparently there was like a late last-minute push for GOP voters in Arizona to get to drop off their ballots, which is why a lot of the late vote right now coming in Arizona is actually favoring Donald Trump over Joe Biden. So it's possible Trump could overtake Joe Biden here and actually win Arizona. But for the most part, other states, it's a lot of, we're talking about heavily populated areas, leaning more Democratic. And on top of that, because they're mail-in ballots, leaning, again, more in favor of Joe Biden. Russell says, thanks for great feed. You know, voting up 20% polls 2 or 3 times better. Sorry. I'm sure this is a great chat. I'm just having a hard time following the sentence. Thanks for great feed. You know, voting up 20% polls 2 or 3 times better millions of new Dems. I'm just reading it as I see it. Better millions of new Dems. Dems not progressive enough by far. But should they really need 100% turnout, 40-point leads, or just fairer voting? Maybe 100% mail-in paper ballots better. Thank you, Russell, for your chat. It is just so hard to follow what you're saying. There's no periods, no punctuation. A lot of words are shortened. I have no idea what you're actually saying. But thank you for sharing your chat. Thank you for your very generous super chat. I wish I could better understand what the chat is actually saying. I think what you're trying to maybe say, but I think what you're maybe trying to say is that Democrats shouldn't need... Actually, I have no idea what you're saying. But should they really need 100% turnout, 40-point leads, or just fairer voting? I don't know what you're saying. I'm sorry. Lovelyard. I've seen your name a million times. Still don't know how to pronounce that. Says 90-day fiance, your way to Canadian citizenship. A friend of mine showed me that television show. Looks absolutely ridiculous. I don't know how people watch some of these reality shows. I could not sit and watch more than 2 minutes of that. Simon Slash says, I am so thankful to God Nevada and Arizona are not called and waiting for results. Still, with Trump currently losing, in brackets, could not be the case in the end, and block his count blocking strategy in Midwest. Yes, I'm also thankful. Lucky Cat says people really need to focus on... Is Biden speaking again, or is this last night? No, it's yesterday. Cable news is weird. They'll like randomly bring up a video from like 2 days ago of somebody walking out in front of a podium like it's a new speech, but it happened before. It's just B-roll. Why do we need to see that? Doesn't do anything, but the news has some weird way of doing things. Lucky Cat says people really need to focus on local elections. This is where the cons conduct their sabotage. If you can run local. Yeah, there has been a massive investment from the GOP into local races, state races, and slowly taking over control over the past 30 years by doing that. There has to be a much better investment from Democrats into local races and state races. And not the current Democratic Party, but an investment from worker-friendly candidates into those areas. Natalie Robinson says Trump did damage in Florida. Biden equals Castro. Flew down from New York to vote. No receipt of mail-in. Latino stance due to propaganda. Latino Proud Boys are real. Thomas Binney says, don't move to Canada, move to North Dakota, South Dakota, Montana, Wyoming. Turn those tiny red states blue. South Dakota will have legal weed in April 2022. Sean Geese says, some are claiming that Biden would have done worse in Florida because of the Castro fear that Trump instilled down there. What do you think? Some are claiming that Bernie would have done worse in Florida because of the Castro fear that Trump instilled. He may have done worse with Cuban voters, but he would have... The media needs to stop doing this. They're lumping all Latino voters into one basket. Puerto Rican voters sided with Biden in bigger numbers, but not big enough. There were other Latino voters apart from wealthy Cubans who escaped Castro that the Democratic Party should have been chasing, and they just did not. So if they attempted to actually go after other bases of Latino support that isn't just right-wing Cubans who were never going to vote for Biden anyways, they could have easily brought out bigger numbers, and I absolutely think Bernie would had a better shot for sure in Florida. People have to remove themselves from thinking that Cuban voters are the only Latino voters in Cuba. That's absurd. That's not true at all. So no, I think Bernie absolutely would have had a better shot there. And especially as well in Texas, where the turnout for Biden from the Latino community was terrible. And it's because Biden did not put enough effort into actually getting those voters out. So even putting Florida aside, I think Bernie had a much better shot at flipping Texas than Biden did. John Q says, hey, Dave, who's to blame when 68 million still vote for Trump after the last 4 years? Democrats or voters? Thanks, man. The Mimico crew. I think both. But the issue is you can't really blame voters because ultimately it's how they're being informed. It's a combination of brainwashing and also having a lack of choice. So ultimately the blame really falls on Democratic Party and the media. And plenty of blame there to go around. It's really easy to blame voters and just say, oh, they're stupid. They're voting against their own interest. Sure, you can keep saying and doing that, but that's not going to change the result. If you actually care about changing the result, what can you do to change that? And that's when we get to Democratic strategy having to be different and actually appealing to working class voters and actually investing into various communities and appealing to them with an actual message that's also an economic message. And also the media having to do its job at properly informing people. But of course, the media at large, the corporate media, legacy media is incentivized by corporate interests. They're very rarely ever going to push a truly objective view of the world based on the interests of the voters at large. So it's on people like us, it's on new media to really take over and educate voters properly. Oscar Alvarez says, I do see a path to a big conflict. Republicans are adding gas to fire, talking about Dems stealing the election. This plus people having guns. Kyle Stanton says if Biden gets exactly 270, sorry, I'm just going to pause there for a second, Kyle, to check out if you have any more here. Did this increase? I think it did. No, hard to tell. But it's about the same lead right now for Joe Biden as it was 10 minutes ago. Arizona looking the same. Glancing at cable news, seeing what's happening. Georgia, the same. North Carolina, believe it's the same. Pennsylvania looking the same. Okay. So no real votes in yet. Kyle says, if Biden gets exactly 270, could faithless electors cause chaos and put him below 270? That was brought up in the Atlantic piece, right? The Atlantic article before the election discussing what could happen. I guess it's possible. I feel like it's unlikely. But I don't want to speculate too much until we have an actual result. So I don't know. But I feel like we'd be leading towards a crisis if that was the case. Let's get a little Steve Kornacki update here.
Vote in, let me just, sorry. I apologize for this, doing this in real time here. We just have an 11,000 vote statewide lead here. That's what you're looking at for Joe Biden in Nevada. Again, we got a batch of votes in Clark County. This is where Las Vegas is. We got them earlier. Biden so far leading strongly in this new batch of votes that we're getting from Clark County. Now, there are going to be a lot more votes to come from Clark County. So, we expected, I think, something on the order of about 100,000 mail ballots to be counted there still. So the question was in Clark County, are these going to be what's yet to be reported? Are they going to favor Biden? The initial indication is yes. But again, this is a relatively small amount here, so let's see. But it is a pretty overwhelming advantage in this first report that Biden has. And remember, he came into this in the lead, small lead, but he came into it in the lead. And if you're getting an indication here that the outstanding votes are going to favor Biden, well, you can see there statewide, he has a chance that would give him certainly to hang on to the lead. So Nevada, we got that going on, and then I think we just got a further update. I just wanted to check here. I believe in Georgia, Trump's lead here sitting at 14,000. I think we just got a few more votes in Georgia. So again, that is continuing to tick down slightly as you get more. And let me just check in Pennsylvania. I believe we got another small update here. Trump's lead sitting at 115,000. Again, the big piece of this in Pennsylvania, as we keep saying, Philadelphia, they've been reporting these in some, pretty big chunks. We just had one a short while ago. We'll see if there are more that come. But yeah, and I'm also trying to get a sense. I don't yet. I'm trying to get a sense if we're there. It is. We are getting more mail ballots, it would appear, from Clark County. That's not from Clark County. Is that from Washoe County? We are getting Washoe County around Reno. We're getting mail ballots as well, and that's what you're seeing. That is what's updating. Okay, that is what you're seeing right now. Clark County, Washoe County, the two biggies, this is like 90% in Nevada. We're getting mail ballots right now. And what it is doing, I keep pressing this button by mistake. What it is doing statewide is it has pushed Biden's lead up. The Clark County mail-in ballots pushed Joe Biden's lead up from 7,600 to about 12,000, somewhere in that neighborhood. And what you've been seeing from Washoe so far, at least, it has basically stayed in that neighborhood. And there remain a significant number of mail-in ballots in Clark County. That was only a small chunk of them that got reported out there. About 15,000 that got reported out there about 20 minutes ago. So if that is a taste of what they are going to be like out of Clark County as more and more of them come in, that would be very good news for Joe Biden as he tries to not just hold on to this lead in Nevada. The goal there for him would be to build that lead and put the state away. If what he got out of Clark County there, if you were watching about 15 minutes ago and you saw that big jump there, 7,600 to 12,000, that was a statewide lead. That was a jump from Clark County mail-in ballots. There are many more of those to come. And if they look like that, that puts Biden in very good position.
All right. You heard the man. Looking pretty good in Nevada for Joe Biden right now. He's increasing his lead. He was leading by 8,000 votes, or about 7,000 votes. Now leading by about 12,000. Oh no, wait, more than that now. Look at that. Oh no, about less. A little less. A little more. No, a little more. Yeah, 12,000, 11,000 votes. So there we go. Jared Porpora, thank you for your super chat. Ron says, I see plenty of blame for Dems and neoliberal order, but at some point we must accept that Trump's vote count is a representation of what America is about. That discussion is missing from left media. Sorry, I read that without even thinking about what you were saying. I see plenty of blame for Dems and neoliberal order, but at some point we must accept that Trump's vote count is a representation of what America is about. That discussion is missing from left media. Sure, but I'll tell you why it's missing. Because what do we do about that? How do you unbrainwash somebody who is brainwashed? Like that's the issue, which is why you have to rely on people that don't normally vote. You have to rely on disillusioned voters, independent voters. That's where the messaging should be. We can talk all day about the issue of racism in America, and And when it comes to policy, like when it comes to criminal justice, that is an important, of course, discussion. But there's actual policy there to go with it. There was nothing. What do we do with just the knowledge that a bunch of people are never going to vote for you? Like, that's why there is not a focus on that, because you can't really do anything about people who are brainwashed. You can't do anything about people who are inherently racist and have been their entire lives. So the focus has to be on the voters that are disillusioned, disenfranchised, people that don't normally vote, on voter suppression. That's where the discussion, like where the actual power is. So that's why the left's focus is always on power. How do you actually attain power? You don't attain power by just crying about people who are not going to vote for you because they're racist. Like, that's what the media keeps doing, and Democrats keep doing. And it's a fun grift to try and, fundraise off that. But you have to actually change your strategy and attempt to appeal to people who are not voting for you, who can vote for you. The people you have already lost, the people that are too far gone, why is there a focus on them at all? That you can't do anything about that. That's a completely separate cultural issue that has to be dealt with another way, but it can't be dealt with through electoral politics. Adam Bryceland says it's not letting me send super chats above $5. What the F? Well, I'm getting others above $5, so I don't know. I don't know. Don't know what to say. John Foote, I'm not sure I can even say your full last name here on this stream. But John says, you look like a Game of Thrones character. Thank you, I think. I don't know. Sure, why not? It's just the hair right now, because I have it pushed back so I can see. Andrew Dwyer says, MA voted no on ranked choice voting. Yeah, discussed that earlier. So did Alaska. Or I think Alaska's was ranked choice voting. But yes, unfortunately. Canvas Dancer says, David Help running out of time, 66 years old, was activist delegate to Minnesota convention twice, taught 7 years on California border near international, or is that Canada border? On International Falls / Fort Francis. Do you need an extra grandma? I bake. Love. Thank you for your appeal to be my grandma. I'm glad you've put the time in, put the work in. Don't worry yourself. It's now our job to take over and try and push the world into the proper direction. You did what you could. Unfortunately, not enough people in your generation and above or under, they didn't do enough, or they largely benefited and never saw the need to actually be involved and change the process or change society. So it's kind of left to millennials and Gen Z now to do everything, but that's how it's got to be. Jeffrey Zachary says, does Canada participate in U.S. daylight savings? Yes, we are part of daylight savings time. Polly Fufu says, this is like waiting for Guffman, but worse. Thanks for being here. Jean Sheed says, how do we Hoosiers break through to the voters when we produce people like Pence and Barrett? I don't know. That's something for you to find out. I don't know. Joel Dazzy says, as of 12 minutes ago, Nevada officials now saying 10 a.m. PST for the next update. Okay, the time zone threw me off. Isn't 10 a.m. PST, that would be 1 o'clock, right? Yes, that'd be 1 o'clock. All right. So in 20 minutes, I guess we'll see in 20 minutes. I'll be here till 1. How about that? Stay here for 1 p.m. Then I really got to eat lunch, do something else with my life for at least an hour. And if the race is called or something happens, I will jump back on live. Otherwise, I'll just produce a video or two. But let's see where we're sitting at right now. Same in Nevada. Arizona looks the same. Georgia, I think, is the same. North Carolina hasn't changed at all. Pennsylvania also appears to be the same. Okay. So it really just looks like Nevada's updating their numbers right now. Not seeing much else. Let me turn on my... There we go. I forgot I have my Streamlabs notifications off. So you can see your chats now. Friendly Pup says Trump going out with his tweets and legal threats couldn't make him look more like the baby he is. Absolutely. This is why I'm ignoring him. It's like a crying baby that's not mine. I don't have to listen to it. I just walk right by the crying baby. I don't really care. Danny F says, any chance someone challenges Pelosi for a speaker from the left? I hope. As I discussed earlier, right now it seems... Do I have this story up still? No, I don't. But as I was discussing earlier in the stream, right now there is a challenge, potential challenge, coming from Hakeem Jeffries, who is just as right-wing as Nancy Pelosi is. No real improvement there. But the conservative members of the Democratic caucus are now pushing to actually replace Nancy Pelosi. They think she's too far left, so they want to replace her with Hakeem Jeffries. I hope there's a challenge from the left. I'm not sure who... Barbara Lee, maybe, though I'm not sure she wants the position. I don't know. Ro Khanna, that'd be great. But again, I don't know. I'm not sure there's enough support from within the Democratic House to back a successful challenge from the left, which is the issue. Fly Chomper Fly says, any reason that you or anyone knows why Prog Rocker cannot super chat? Error, unable to send message? I don't know. Can Prog Rocker chat normally? Maybe we have a rogue mod that I have to deal with, but I don't know. I have no idea. X Morbid Kid or X Morbid Kai says Trump voters like stop the count. Yeah, that's what they're doing. Stop the count in all the states where Trump's currently up, but don't stop the count in Arizona where he is coming back. They're very, very selective about their stop the count. For me, I'm count everything. If Trump wins Arizona, he wins Arizona. That's just how. Hell, if he wins Pennsylvania, Georgia, North Carolina, then he wins those states and he wins the election. Like, the idea of stopping the count because it benefits you is clearly anti-democratic. Oh man, I'm really enjoying all the support today through these super chats. Much appreciated. I refreshed the page and a lot more came in. Tokington says they are just waiting for you to leave before calling the last states. Just stop the stream. You know what? I wouldn't be surprised. Sasha Mullins says you may lose your place in chat, but you'll never lose your place in our hearts. Oh, thank you so much. Oh, how kind. Cameron McIntyre says, how do Dems avoid a 2010 level backlash in 2022 if Biden wins? They avoid it by Dems actually fighting for people, showing some fight. If they're being held back by a GOP Senate, then make that known. Fight the Senate. Don't try and work with them and be more conservative like them. You have to actually show some fight for people. You have to take your fight to the people, have a proper message, understand how to use your position, and have, give speeches, discuss what's going on, discuss the obstruction, talk about what you're actually pushing for. Like, don't continue to try and work with a Republican Party who wants to see you destroyed. It is just a completely losing strategy, and they will be routed out in 2022 if Democrats continue trying to work with this GOP. Let me check out Steve Kornacki.
and did same-day registration. You can do that in Nevada. These are the ballots that appear to be tallied up by the counties here. So what happened here, for instance, in Washoe County, which is where Reno is. Let's just call up those results. And I think we were talking about this. We saw it come in. They had said they estimated they had about 9,000 of these late arriving mail ballots they thought they had left to report out. And they thought they had about 4,000 of those same day registrations that they also had to process and get through. It looks like, based on this update we just got, that most, if not all of those, have been reported out now. And what it did when they reported these out a few minutes ago, it was basically a split. There wasn't a clear advantage for either candidate here in Washoe County. This is the second largest in Nevada. So no one really making any gains out of the release of all of that vote. Same thing, same style combination of ballot is what's playing out in Clark County. And Clark County is overwhelmingly the majority of the population in Nevada. Same thing is playing out there. And we did get an update there about 20 minutes ago, except there, Biden was winning these votes, by about a 2-to-1 margin. He was getting about 2/3 of them. Now, the catch is this. Whereas in Washoe County, it looks like they're pretty much out of votes there. They may be all out of votes there now. They may be all reported there. In Clark County, there's a lot more to come. That update, again, we're thinking there's probably about 100,000 votes here still to come. That update was about 15,000 of them. So the question there is that 2-to-1 Biden advantage you're seeing, is that anywhere near indicative of how the rest of these ballots are going to go? Because Biden's already winning statewide in Nevada. He padded his lead statewide when some of those votes were counted in Clark County. And again, we're talking 75% of the population, 70% of the population of the state in this county. So kind of what happens here from this point forward, what happens in Clark County is kind of going to drive this. And again, we got 15,000 of those in, 15,000 of those out.
All right, so basically, in Nevada, Biden's looking really good. Apparently, all the votes here are in, or most of them are in Washoe County. In Clark County, leaning heavily towards Joe Biden and continues with the mail-in balloting to lean more towards Joe Biden, as he said, at about a 2-to-1 margin. So it seems very likely that Trump will lose, or I should say Biden will take Nevada, as was to be expected. But let's say that's the case. Let's say Biden takes Nevada. All right, then we're sitting at 259, 217, and so he wins Arizona, which has already been called by the AP, but has not been called by other networks. So the AP, as I said earlier, if you were here, may call the election for Joe Biden if Biden is about to take Nevada and takes it. They may call the election for Joe Biden. But CNN, MSNBC, and other places won't because they have not given Joe Biden Arizona. So there may be some discrepancy there in who they think is the winner or at what time they win. But still waiting on those. And then ultimately, if that's the case, if he wins both, if Biden wins both, he doesn't even need these. But let's say he takes Nevada, which is likely. Trump is gaining in Arizona, so let's just say Trump takes Arizona. Then it's about all these right here. I think if I'm not mistaken, I think Biden only needs one of these. So if he gets North Carolina, he wins the election. If he gets Georgia, he wins the election. If he gets Pennsylvania, he wins the election. And that's with losing Arizona. So Trump needs Arizona, and he needs to keep his lead in Pennsylvania, keep his lead in North Carolina, and keep his lead in Georgia to be able to win. But he is losing votes at a rapid pace, or I should say Biden's gaining on him at a rapid pace because of counties like Philadelphia that are left to count because they have a lot more people there. It takes longer to count the mail-in ballots, and the combination of it being Philadelphia plus mail-in balloting heavily favors Joe Biden. So a lot of vote left there, leaning heavily in favor of Joe Biden. North Carolina may go to Trump. I'm not really sure what's even happening there. Not much of an update in North Carolina. But Georgia's the other one. So the states I'm really looking at right now, Arizona, Georgia, Pennsylvania. I expect Biden to take Nevada. Arizona, is moving in Trump's direction, but is it going to be enough? We don't know. Georgia moving in Biden's direction. Is it going to be enough? We're going to find out. Same with Pennsylvania. So we may have a result today. We may not. There is a 76,000 vote difference right now in North Carolina between the two. Trump leading there currently. I'm not sure if there's enough vote left. Well, I guess there is enough vote left for Joe Biden to take it. Otherwise, they would have called it already. But is it going to be leaning in Joe Biden's favor enough for him to take North Carolina? We have to wait. Okay. And as I said earlier, in case you're a late joiner, this map updates by itself, so I don't have to refresh. Christoph says, blessings from Winnipeg. Thank you, Christoph. Vasu Nepali says, I'm conservative and you are the only left-leaning person I listen to. Well, how about that? Welcome. I would like to know why you lean conservative. What about it specifically? Economic policy? Social policy? Let me know. Mind of the North Star says, what is the likelihood of Arizona flipping to Trump? Is the AP calling it prematurely? AP definitely called Arizona prematurely. Yes. It's possible it flips to Trump. I would say right now it's 50-50. Because the early vote that was coming in, or I should say the late vote coming in for Donald Trump in Arizona, leaning about 59% towards Donald Trump, but Trump needs about 60% of the remaining vote to win Arizona. So the remaining vote could go either way. It could be, 65% leaning towards Trump, in which case he takes Arizona, or it could be 55%, or sorry, 55 or like 50% going towards Donald Trump, in which case Joe Biden keeps Arizona or takes Arizona. So I would say right now it's 50-50. The Associated Press called it too early, though I would still say maybe it's like 51-49 favor of Joe Biden, as he is still leading by a good chunk. But based on the trend in the remaining vote, yes, very possible Donald Trump takes that state. Demi says, in the next 4 years, Trump or Biden, how much do you think will get done as far as LGBT issues? Thanks, Dave. Well, it matters, right? It matters if it's Trump or Biden. Trump, not only will there be no progress, you'll go backwards. Biden may still be no progress, but at least you won't go backwards. So I don't know specifically. But in terms of any executive orders that Trump may have passed that were anti-LGBT, Biden can reverse those. But anything requiring the Senate, if the Senate is Republican, which is very possible, then it's going to be impossible to really push anything through. Legit K says, do you think Arizona can/might flip? And do you think Trump then has an actual chance to win? Greetings from DK. So I did just discuss Arizona, but let me show you. Maybe I just did this, but Arizona goes to Trump. Let's say Nevada goes to Biden. Yeah, I did this already. Biden only needs one of these states. Trump needs all three. So still, even if Trump takes Arizona, still very likely Biden wins the election because all he needs are one of these to flip. And right now, Pennsylvania and Georgia are favored for Joe Biden based on the remaining vote. Danny Leon says, most people only watch the news for a few minutes on their way to work or on breaks. That's why they repeat the same videos all day as if it's new. Yeah, I noticed this a lot, especially with Morning Joe, which I watched a bit this morning to see what they were saying. They will, I just burped, excuse me. They will, they'll replay an interview they had at like 7 a.m. And there'll be this weird cut between the end of the interview and then going to commercial break that, yeah, all these cable news stations do. But I think CNN's a little better at that. but I could be wrong. But yeah, they all replay the same shit. SJBC says, keep it going, David. I've been following you since 2017 and you inspired me to do videos in Dutch. Left voices are missing everywhere. Thank you. Awesome. I want to see more of that. Yes. Yes, if you are in, a country where you feel like there isn't enough of a voice in media that represents your views, your position, start doing your own thing. Start putting out videos on YouTube. Start pushing that message. I love to hear that. DTH by Game says, Nevada resident here. Many of my friends and family voted early by mail for Biden. Our ballots currently show up as received, but not yet counted. Really? Yeah, there are, I think Steve Kornacki said, still about 100,000 votes left, at least in Clark County. So a lot of votes still left here. And maybe that's why you're not seeing your ballot show up yet. Yeah, I got to go off or get off and eat lunch soon. My stomach is beginning to bother me. Henrik Israelian says, at this point, we need an overhaul of our congressional system and make it a multi-party democracy with ranked choice voting. Biden is failure, in fact, and Navarro already blamed Bernie yesterday. Yeah, I saw a bit of that. I may have to cover that in a video. It's just so absurd. You put up the candidate you want, a corporate-friendly candidate, and when he does poorly, you still blame the left. These people are garbage people. They are garbage people. They belong in the garbage, and we should not be hearing them. The only reason I haven't covered that yet is because I would like to start ignoring these dipshits. We don't need to continue. For 4 years now, I have broken down how completely full of shit that narrative is, that I'm just tired of doing it. I'm tired of having to tell people that the same strategy that they've been using for 20, 30 years, the continued failure of that strategy over the past 10 plus years, and for them to continue trying to pretend like, no, it's not them, it's you. No. I don't know how many times I got to tell people about how the media misinforms them, but I guess maybe I have to keep doing it. As long as people watch MSNBC as I'm doing right now, but I know what to tune out. Right now I'm tuning out an interview. These are not important. Don't need to hear these pundits speak. All I care about is the numbers. When Steve Kornacki's on, I'll listen to him because he's got numbers in front of him. Like right now.
With the Sonny Perdue case.
Yeah, that's the interesting piece of it, Andrea. We keep watching this presidential race tighten in Georgia as more and more of those votes come in. 13,000 Trump's lead over Biden. But the Senate race is also tightening. Not in a way, it's not about is Ossoff going to catch Perdue here right now. It's about this Perdue number, which we have at 50.0 right now. If that drops anywhere below 50.0, 49.9, then there's a runoff election. You got to get 50%.
As I was saying earlier, that seems to be very possible, that there will be 2 runoff elections in Georgia. So we won't know the makeup of the Senate until at least for a few months. Isaac says, I really need some help debunking conservative propaganda. Why a poll worker's blocking windows from viewers? And why are there images of voters whose date of birth is 1900 being counted? Please help. The blocking the windows, I think, just has to do with it being a distraction from them actually doing their work. Because you had like a crowd of people there saying, stop the count. When you're trying to just do your job and count the vote, I could see that being incredibly distracting. And why are there images of voters whose date of birth is 1900 being counted? I don't know what these images are, and I'm sure they're fake. Like, you're talking about, why do you? There's no need to even debunk propaganda from people who think the Earth is flat. Like, really, let's be a little more sane here in our analysis. The ballots are counted every election. It takes a while to count the ballots. In 2016, on Election Day, Hillary Clinton was not leading Trump by 3 million votes on Election Day. It took until December 21st to really know the final count in 2016, that Hillary did in fact get, I think, 2.8 million more votes than Donald Trump. It took a couple months to find that out. Every election, this is the exact same process. It takes a while to count the votes. Every election is the exact same thing. Just now they're trying to pretend this is all new, all different. Mail-in balloting. Who heard of mail-in ballot? It's been the same shit for 100 years. 100 years. So let's stop pretending that these people have any kind of argument. They don't. Are those same people freaking out about the count right now in Arizona that's helping Donald Trump? Like, come on now. Vasu Nepali says, what do you think of Joe Jorgensen? I don't know anything about the Libertarian candidate, but whatever. They exist. LOA Vermont, thank you for your super chat. Legit K says, opinion on Kyle Kulinski and Destiny. I like Kyle. I think he did a good job on Joe Rogan's show. I didn't watch the entire, I think they were on for like 5 hours. But from what I watched, I thought he did a good job on there, debunking some of the BS and discussing what was happening. Destiny, I haven't watched since he's kind of gone crazy. He seemed good for a while, and then he just, I don't know too much about him, but he seems to go all over the place. So I'm not sure what's going on there, but I don't watch him anymore, so I don't know. Saul Sanchez says, hey, I love this coverage you've been doing. Keep being awesome. And also, we have the same hairstyle. Looks good. Thank you, Saul. Michael Natal. By the way, I'm looking at, okay, it's 1 o'clock. Are we getting more votes? Not much has changed. Biden has increased, I believe, here. Because I think he was at 603. Now he's at 604. I think Trump has stayed at around 592. But not much really, in terms of, the votes coming in aren't changing the result all that much. It's increasing Biden's lead, but by like small margins. So it's Nevada very likely to go to Joe Biden. You're not seeing, Trump would need a big result from the mail-in ballots currently being counted, and he's not getting that. So it's likely going to just putter along until we get the final count, but seems to be likely that Biden takes Nevada based on what's left in that state. Arizona, I'm not sure what, I think, did this change? I feel like it changed. I'm not positive though. But Biden's still leading there by about 69,000 votes. Georgia, it's been this way for about an hour. 49.52 to 49.25. North Carolina, I don't think has changed. Pennsylvania, I don't think has changed. But possibly getting more results here from Nevada. Gonna wait. Just glancing at the TV. Okay. Michael Natal says, hey, David, Arizona was called by the AP. Do you think that could go the other way? Yes. Yes. I've discussed a few times now. It's okay, though. I know people can't watch, the entire 3 hours I've been here. But, yes. I think Arizona was called too early by the AP. That could definitely flip for Trump, as I've discussed. I don't know why they called it this early, but they did. And it can definitely go the other direction. But even in that scenario, as I discussed earlier, say Trump wins it, Biden likely to take Nevada, and then Biden only needs Pennsylvania or North Carolina or Georgia. And he's right now gaining heavily in Georgia and Pennsylvania. So... and Trump needs all three to win. So even if Trump wins Arizona, he still has a slim path to victory.
So right now, Biden also clinging to a small lead, President Trump chipping away at that gap with these new votes coming in. And to be clear, that's one path, and it would be a perfect 270. But Biden does not need Nevada, Arizona, if he goes on to win Pennsylvania. Democrats say they're very confident.
Okay. I'm going to get through these chats, and then, as someone just said in the chat, I'm going to go eat lunch. I need a little break here. Nick Spear says, hey, is it correct that Biden will win just with Arizona and Nevada? Yes, I believe that is true. I've been looking at numbers all day, though, so I keep forgetting. But yes, all Biden needs is Nevada and Arizona, and he wins. So as I said earlier, the AP may call this election early for Joe Biden because they've already called Arizona. So we may be in a situation where the AP calls the election while CNN, MSNBC are still sitting on their hands on that. So I don't know. But I think they're right to. I think they're right to not call Arizona. So, and if they call the election for Biden after he takes Nevada and Arizona flips, controversy. So the AP would be smart to maybe reverse their decision of calling Arizona, but they appear to not. Let me see if I think the Guardian auto updates, but just in case they don't. Yeah, they're still giving Arizona to Biden. They should not have done that. Jacob Hoffman says, stumbled onto your channel. Thanks for the refreshing view. Hashtag Yang 2024. Thanks for showing up. Christine Danielson says, hi, David. Finally got some work again and I'm a member again. By the way, everybody who is new, hit the subscribe button right now. Most of the people that watch my videos are not subscribed. What's up with that? Hit the subscribe button. Also, if you can, hit the bell notification icon that's beside the subscribe button. It'll tell you when a video goes live or when I go live, maybe with some breaking news in the afternoon with a result. So hit that bell icon, hit the sub button, and I appreciate the support. There are also links below the video if you want to support me through PayPal or through Streamlabs or through Patreon. And of course, hit the join button on YouTube. You can also support me that way. Anyways, Christine Danielson says, hi, David. Finally got some work again, and I'm a member again. I really appreciate your knowledge and over the dam too. I can just send a bit and later. Thank you, Christine. You do not have to do that, but thank you. I appreciate your support, and that's awesome. Congrats on the new job. I want to check out Kornacki here.
And Biden is winning these votes in Philadelphia. He's winning the city right now by 80%. He's winning the mail ballot portion of the vote. He's getting like 90% of that. So you could just do the math with that many outstanding votes in that one place that Joe Biden is winning by that large a margin. That gives him the opportunity to erase a big portion of that Trump lead statewide. Then you look, where else are there outstanding ballots? And by the way, when we say outstanding ballots here, we're talking outstanding mail ballots, absentee ballots. And these are the ballots that are favoring Biden, even in areas that aren't heavily Democratic. The mail ballot portion of the vote has been favoring Biden. And you can see right outside Philadelphia, if you look, there's a bubble within the bubble here. That's Delaware County, right outside Philadelphia. That's another big one. They've got mail vote to come. Bucks County, this other circle right here, they've got mail vote to come. Also Allentown, Lehigh County, they've got mail-in vote to come. Erie, we got a report this morning. Erie's a very good example because it's a county that overall Trump is winning. But the mail vote portion of the vote, Biden is winning. So that's the dynamic at play.
See, as I was saying, in Pennsylvania, even counties Trump is winning, like Erie County. The mail-in ballots right now coming in heavily favor Joe Biden. In fact, it's possible Joe Biden flips some of these counties, like Erie County, with the mail-in ballot. But that, in addition to Biden right now gaining, or not gaining, but increasing his lead in Philadelphia and other counties around here, very likely Biden will overtake Trump in the vote here with what's left to count. Eric Chung says, what do you think about Katie Porter? I like Katie Porter. She's impressed me more and more the longer she's been in Congress. I think she's fantastic. In fact, Katie Porter running for Senate wouldn't be a bad idea either. Andal's History says, to play devil's advocate, GOP seem to believe that brainwashing is happening on our side just as much. So essentially, who's more effective at conversion? Yeah, but this is the way This is the way the right always operates. They always accuse the other side of doing what they themselves are doing. The brainwashing is obvious when you look at the approach to COVID. Look at the numbers in the US compared to other countries. It's not even close. The US never even got rid of the first wave. They went into a second wave, then into a third wave. So it's obvious which side is doing the actual brainwashing. Now, with that said, yes, there are Democratic voters that are definitely more like Team Democrat as opposed to being, people that have functioning brains. So there is definitely still a team sport element with members of both parties, for sure. But when it comes to the Trump base, the shit they believe, the conspiracies they push, it is obvious that there is mass brainwashing on a level that is simply not on the Democratic Party side. That said, yes, of course, there are people that are just Team Democrat and don't have any analysis or any criticism of the Democratic Party, which is stupid. Because if they had half a brain, they would recognize how much of a failure the Democratic Party has been. But those people, those brainwashed people, exist on both sides. Just a lot more of them exist on the GOP. Cross Chaos says, I think that this election shows that the left may never attain a plurality of voters in the near future. Left victories will be close or non-existent. Well, people that were left that ran won the races, like Cori Bush, like Jamal Bowman. The only one that lost, really, Kara Eastman in Nebraska. But that was such a close. She lost. It was like 50-48. Such a close race there. But the actual Democratic losses, like in the House, for example, we're talking about suburban voters. We're talking about people or candidates who lean very pro-corporate, very status quo Democratic candidates. They're the ones that ultimately lost in the House and lost in the Senate. So we're not talking about progressive left-wing candidates here. So the idea of blaming the left here is absurd. I'm not sure if that's what you're doing. Can't really parse what you're trying to say here. But left victories are definitely possible. You just have to actually put effort into them. You actually have to have the candidates available to people. but the actual effort, the money is always from the Democratic Party and consultants and the donor class is always put into the corporate-friendly candidates for obvious reasons. They want to protect certain interests. That left-wing candidates like AOC, like Jamal Bowman, Cori Bush, Rashida Tlaib, Ilhan Omar, Ro Khanna, others are not going to back. Harry, I cannot pronounce your last name. Harry Panorgius says higher turnout helps progressives and Dems, but with the election being this close, plus highest turnout in 120 years, does that cast any doubt in that? Kind of, but not really, because as we see, Biden's still very likely to win. It just so happened that Trump got a lot more support this time than 2016. So, but even with that, Biden got that much more than Hillary Clinton did in 2016. So higher turnout still ultimately leads to Democratic victories. But again, the issue being there was no message from the Democratic Party. There is no underlying universal message that is being pushed by the party to the people. So you're still seeing a turnout that isn't as high as it should be when it comes to disillusioned voters, independent voters, people that have been disenfranchised or neglected by the Democratic Party. We should be seeing a much bigger turnout, or states like Ohio, where you had the union vote go to Donald Trump. Even though Biden's plan is better for workers, he didn't discuss it enough. He also didn't do enough. His platform isn't enough. But at the very least, could have discussed that, could have pushed that, could have brought Bernie Sanders more into that conversation. But no. This is why you see the failure there. But if you have an actual candidate that supports the working class, that has a history of backing the working class, then you get in that support that, for the most part, has gone to Trump. Because Trump, at the very least, I guess in their minds, is not your typical politician. Trump's attack of saying, Biden's been there for 47 years, hasn't done anything, that may have worked on some of those voters because Biden's history is not good on many of those issues. He's not if you're looking at, obviously in terms of what Biden would do and and being able to stop Trump from what he would doing, Biden would be the better candidate, obviously. But it's a good attack to discuss what Biden's done for 47 years, or what he hasn't done for 47 years. Even though the obvious argument there is Trump is the president, what has he done? Nothing for the average worker. Even though he'll claim, oh, manufacturing at its highest point, like he'll put out bullshit like that has no basis in reality at all because he lies all the time. But that's what he does. And because Trump at least pretends to care about the working class, that works on enough people who just aren't going to do the research, or who'll do the research and maybe they'll fall into the right-wing hole and conspiracies or whatever, and they'll think, oh, Trump is right, he is working in my best interest, when the reality is he's not. And I don't know how. I gotta say, the one thing that I have to not blame voters, but the one thing I really do not understand at all is how people can't tell that Trump is obviously a narcissist. He is so, all he cares about is himself. That is so obvious to me. How people that support him can't see that, or see that and think that Trump still cares about them anyways. That to me is, I can't explain that. It doesn't make any sense. But I think it couldn't be more obvious that Trump does not give a shit about anybody but himself. Nevada's giving a bit of an update here. Let's see what they're saying.
So starting tomorrow through next Tuesday, which is the last day for us to receive a mail ballot that's been postmarked November 3rd, we will continue to receive mail. So again, those ballots are also separate from what I previously reported. The cure process in Nevada, which is statutorily required for those voters who have been notified that they either did not sign their ballot or their signature did not match in our system. They have until Thursday, November 12th to cure that ballot. The last day that we can tabulate and send ballots into the system is November 12th. So that night we will stay here until we are done entering ballots into the system, because statute clearly tells us that we must be done counting by that date. With that information, we hope that I've clarified.
Okay. Basically, the update sounds like they're going to be counting for the next few days, because as long as the ballots are postmarked for Election Day, they still have to count them. Though I imagine there can't be that many of those left. What really matters is the bulk of the early vote, the bulk of the mail-in ballot that they had on Election Day. So in terms of calling the state, though, I'm not sure when the media will do that. If they think there's enough of those absentee ballots that arrive late to wait to call the state, I do not know. All right, I really got to get through these chats. I keep delaying myself, but I can't help it. Some great super chats here and go off on tangents. Clems says 10. I'm not sure what that's about, but thank you. Thanks for your super chat. Mr. Comnu says two-party system close to dictatorship. See from Denmark, but Biden is far better for democracy. World in the dead cult. USA have for the last 4 years. There's a typo here. I don't know what that says. Something Odin for Trump. Don't win. Good luck, America. All right. I'm going to have to roll through these so I can eat. Clems says, I mistyped. Whoops. No problem. Thanks for the super chat. Zitterbug, thanks for the thumbs up. Jay Skagg says, Rash Nash / Vosh crossover episode. Maybe one day. Christopher Jones, thank you for the super chat. JM says, Katie Porter for 2024. Junior McGrath says, David, how is it like being a Chad with daddy energy? Thank you for thinking that. Christopher Jones says, what about faithless electors? Separate discussion. I don't know. Let's discuss that if it happens. Alex Jackson says, do you know any progressive Canadian news besides you? I would say Christo Avalis, though he's done a lot less Canadian stuff recently. So, but check him out anyways. Does good content. There is what's it called? There are ones that are specific to provinces, like Alberta. I know has a great. Is it called Alberta Advantage? Alberta something. There's a great progressive I don't know what it's called, but there's a great Alberta I think I can find it. But apart from that, I don't really know. Yes, Alberta Advantage. I was right. So if you look up Alberta Advantage, they are it's a podcast that's pro-worker. They're great, but Canada Land is pretty good. I'm not sure if they're necessarily progressive or left, but they're more objective in their analysis of what's happening. So check out Canada Land for more Canadian content. But yeah, once this election's over, I'll be doing a lot more in Canada as well. It's just right now there's so much going on. It's hard to focus on anything else because anything else really isn't as important as what's happening right now. Kirsten Tuff says, I'm a Gen Xer who is just studying to be a community worker. Now every green gen needs to keep fighting if they see what's real. Zeke Kai says, man, your stream has been keeping me sane. Being black in Tennessee, I'm ready for orange men to stop giving confidence to these nut jobs. The North remembers. Progressive Dad NJ says, keep it up, David. You are sanity through it all. Thank you. Goshified says, hopefully McCain's ghost won't allow Trump to win Arizona. That, you know what's funny? The only reason this is even close right now in Arizona is because of Trump's attacks on McCain and the McCain family backing Joe Biden. I mean, I'm sure, look, I don't live in Arizona, so maybe there are other factors as well. Potentially COVID ravaging that state for a bit. That may have had an impact as well. But I have to imagine McCain had definitely a play, is definitely a factor in the race here. Aspie for Peace says Guardian has an article explaining the AP call for AZ. I'll have to check it out later. I'm sure they explain it, but considering it can't be that great of an explanation if no one else has called it, so I think it was too early for them to call. They may be right, but even if they're correct, it doesn't mean it was a good call at the time. Eden's Mind says Georgia is at 99% counted and Trump is up 17K. Why isn't that called? Because a lot of friggin' vote. Atlanta is massive. 17K sounds like a lot. It's not. A lot of votes to come in. Also, are you worried about the real alt-right coming back into politics? Those with left views on economics but right on social? Those people don't exist. Find me people that have left-wing, pro-worker, pro-union economic views but are right-wing on social issues. Please find me those people. Where are they? There is not one of those people in Congress. Not one. There's not a single person that has left-wing, progressive, worker right, or socialist views in economic policy and then somehow is right-wing on social. That doesn't exist. This idea of right-wing populism, if it exists, it's in certain individuals who have no power. In terms of actual conservatives, that does not exist. There aren't these people on the right who are pushing to raise wages, tax the wealthy, increase unions, put workers on corporate boards, and are also socially conservative. That doesn't exist. Doesn't exist. People like Sagar, The Hill, like insane. Those people don't exist. Like this idea that right-wing populism is an actual thing. Not true. It's insane. Those people don't exist. I think I said that already. I Shoot You says, I blame Cenk Uygur. The dude is the kiss of death when he called the election for Biden because of what the polls were saying. Anna should slap him. It's a little harsh. But look, you got to give, if you're going to say that, you also got to give Cenk credit for calling it in 2016. He did say that he did think Trump was going to win in 2016. Now, to be fair, he did go back and forth on that. I believe in September 2016, he was on ABC News discussing how Trump was going to win. And then later on, he was trusting the polls more, saying that Hillary was going to win. But he was one of the few people that was actually, on cable news saying that Trump was going to win. So at the same time, yes, honestly, I think all of us have put way too much trust in polling, put way too much trust in 538. that ended 3 days ago. No more can we trust those national polls when it comes to these national races. So, yeah, 100%. And to Anna's credit, by the way, Anna has always been right about that. She's always been critical of Nate Silver and 538 and has been a lot more correct on that issue. Easy Shock says, do you think there will be a DNC primary in 2024? Someone asked us earlier. I think yes, and I think there better be for any hope for society. Sean Domenico says, hey, David, great work. I am from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. It's going to be razor thin. 330,000 mail-in ballots left, mostly from collar counties of Philly and Pittsburgh. Biden deficit at 115K as of 12:45. Yeah, it's based on the projections, based on what experts are saying about the numbers and how Biden is increasing his lead there, increasing his numbers there, even in red counties. The mail-in balloting is favoring Joe Biden because mail-in balloting in general favors Democrats, but especially in Pennsylvania, it seems like. So I think Biden is going to end up winning Pennsylvania. It just may take a day or two. DJ says, how would you quantify what your average work week is in terms of hours? Is it closer to 40 hours? This is a great question. Is it closer to 40 hours, or is it the more infamous 80-hour work week of supposedly so many self-employed people? Definitely closer to 80 hours. I don't have an 8-hour day. I don't know if people realize. I'm working basically all the time. Me being on Twitter or me reading a news article, even if I'm not in front of a camera, that is still working. I am working all the time. In calmer times, like maybe a year ago, maybe I could find a few hours at night to play a video game or watch a movie, and maybe that was consistently every night I could play a game for a couple hours. But I haven't played a video game for probably a week. I have not really watched anything that wasn't political, except for some YouTube videos on cars. I like looking up cars. But apart from that, like 12-hour YouTube videos, I'm working all the time. So definitely closer to 80 hours. I don't keep track of my hours, though. I mean, I don't have to. I'm self-employed, so I don't really know how much I work, but I work all the time. All the time. And I work all the time. We're talking editing, talking researching. In fact, live streaming is probably the easiest. Anyone that live streams for a living, I'm actually kind of jealous, and I've been thinking maybe I should do more live streaming, because live streaming, I don't have to edit shit. I just go in front of the camera, I talk, I show you whatever. But my feeling is that prepared videos they're a little more informative, and I can better lay out my thoughts that way if I have, the research up front and I go through it and it's a quick 8-minute video, 10-minute video. I feel like those are more shareable. People learn more from those as opposed to, an 8-hour live stream. So that's why I continue doing that work. I think it's more beneficial for society for me to continue doing those research videos. But if I was just going purely based on, what I want to do or what I think is easiest, I would just do live streaming. It's way easier. But for now, I'll do both. Scott 1958 says, hi, David from Australia. You're going great. Apparently Dems lost 10 seats in the House. Yeah. And guess what? They were not left-wing seats. We're talking about centrist corporate candidates or corporate politicians losing their seat. Miguel Sevilla says, vibes. Thank you, Miguel, for your super chat. Anthony Montcalvo, thank you for your super chat. Andrew Dwyer says, pretty sure Gavin Newsom picks California senator. Yeah, so he picks it, but then it goes to a runoff. There still has to be an election, right? But in the meantime, I believe he can pick it. I have to look more into that. But my understanding is, yes, he can pick the replacement for now. But at some point, maybe in 2 years, there's a race. Sarah Lee says, Mom and I are sending support from Scotland and CA. She has COVID, but said to tell you she mailed her vote. She said she didn't survive Nazi Germany to die of COVID, so she will be back in your audience soon. Thank you for making Mom smile. Wow, Sarah, thank you. Thanks to you and your mom for the support. No, she will not die from COVID. She will survive. And you'll all get through this insanity. J Hope's Ego says, do you listen to BTS or Blackpink? I do not. But I also don't really know BTS or Blackpink. So it's possible I would like who those people are. Should I do one last refresh here? How many chats do I have left? I'm sure there's a lot. Let's try to rush through these ones. I keep stopping. Here we go. I'm getting closer. Closer to the end. David 3188 says, with the voice being so... I can't even read now. With the vote being so close in Nevada, what are people generally thinking Biden has... God, I can't read it all. Why are people thinking generally Biden has... Whatever you said. So, with the vote being so close, why do people think Biden has Nevada? Because of the vote coming in. So, this was already heavily favored to be Democratic, and the vote, Biden was already leading by 8,000 votes, and since more votes have been coming in, he's only been increasing his lead. And what's left is heavily Democratic right here, Clark County. Heavily Democratic, favored for Joe Biden, favored in the mail-in ballots. That's why it is favored for Biden. But still, it's close enough that they haven't called it. So if he had it, they would have called it. But he's very likely to win it. But again, things can change. Harris Rudolph says, Tucker Carlson, 2024, he would easily win over all the MAGA supporters because even if Trump loses, they aren't going anywhere. Yeah, I think Tucker is a real possibility. JM says Katie Porter might win over Tucker in 2024. Katie Porter, definitely another... I'd be open to her running. Yada Nu says, do you like fish sticks? After Fractures says, that's an old... Man. I remember like 10 years ago that being, like 20 years ago that being a thing. But thank you, Yada News, for your super chat. After Fractures saying, The Docket is my favorite Canadian podcast. Awesome progressive lawyers, and I voted for one of them. There you go. The Docket. Check out The Docket. Oh, in terms of podcasts, there are many. So when I was asked about that question about progressive media, I was trying to think of more like videos. But yeah, so Alberta Advantage, good for Alberta. They're a podcast. Canada Land, I guess mostly podcasts. Sandy and Nora, another great Canadian podcast. The Docket, as you mentioned, I haven't listened to them, but sure, check out The Docket. So there's a few options. Robert Foley says, do you think David Kim has a shot in LA? I don't know. I have not paid attention at all to that. Nariyu says, do you watch Secular Talk? I have, yes. Kyle's, I know Kyle. We're I guess, I wasn't like good friends, but we're, virtual friends. We know each other. But yeah, I check out what other people are saying every now and then. Lately, though, to be honest, I've barely watched other media, except on election night. But just because there's so much going on, don't really have much time to absorb what other opinions are. But every now and then, especially on stories that I haven't covered, that's usually that's always where, for me, Michael Brooks came in. Michael Brooks, fantastic coverage of what was happening internationally, and the Michael Brooks show is still going on, still carried on by his friends that worked with him. But for me, Michael Brooks always filled that void, so I would watch him quite a bit to see what was going on. Majority Report always had great interviews as well, so I always check those out. But yeah, in terms of the content I watch, I usually watch people that are covering things that I don't cover, because that's kind of where I need to fill in my knowledge gap. Nick Spears says, I claim this as the last super chat. There you go. You know what's funny? That was the last one that came in. But then I refreshed the page, and it still is. Fantastic. All right, taking a break. It's 1:30. I meant to get off at 12. It is 1:30. If there's an election called, maybe even a state called, I will go live again. Otherwise, I will just post a video today, so watch for that. Thank you all for showing up. I'm glad you're all here. Hit the sub button right now if you're not subscribed already. Hit the join button if you want to join, help the show out. You can do that. Also, below the video in the description box, you got a Streamlabs link to support the show, or a PayPal link to support the show, or a Patreon link to support the show. various ways to help support the show, but hit, at the very, very least, hit subscribe and hit the bell notification icon. So if I go live or a video goes up, you get a notification. And I don't do it too often, so you're not going to be bugged by notifications, but, you know, once, twice a day, you'll get one. So there you go. All right, just checking out MSNBC saying things too close to call. All right. All right, possibly back this afternoon or this evening. See y'all later.